All right, thanks. Welcome, everybody, to the April 14th, 2020 meeting of the Milton Conservation Commission. The commission members are actually before you. I think so. We can introduce ourselves. My name is John Kiernan.
Judith Kemp.
Hans.
Hans Van Lingen.
Jerry.
Jerry Burke.
Ingrid.
Ingrid Beatty.
And Wendy.
Wendy Garpo.
All right, and I think that's all we have now. We're in session. This is being recorded. Actually, it's on television, so that on the cable vision, so that we have our public meeting record. We're going to follow the regular agenda. We invite anyone and everyone to speak, but we'll go according to the agenda. When the applicant presents, he or she will be able to make a presentation if desired. And Michael Lynch, who is the executive director of the Milton Cablevision, will assist in presenting so that everyone can see the documents that the applicant wishes to direct our attention to. At the conclusion of questioning by the commissioners, we'll open it up to the public, the general public, for questions or comments. We'd ask that you identify yourself. And Mike Lynch will be able to identify people by the last 4 digits of their telephone number, because some people are not on the Zoom, but will be watching this on cable television and will simply call in by telephone. And Mike Lynch is our host, and he'll be able to open up the line to those people. So to those people, because you're making a record, please identify yourself and your by name and address. Having said that, first on the agenda tonight is, this is informational. This is a Massachusetts emergency order, which affects the open meeting law. And essentially, for the public's information, you probably already know this, but our Governor Charles Baker has passed an emergency order allowing this kind of meeting for starters, and also for purposes of the Conservation Commission and implementation of the Wetlands Protection Act and implementation of the town bylaw governing wetlands protection. It allows for an extension of 45 days, essentially for everything. For hearings and for, I have it here in my hand, and it's a 45-day extension for construction approvals, for hearings, for decisions, and for appeals. And for those applicants that have received an order of conditions, please be aware that there is an extension of time for the for abutters or members of the general public to appeal, so that if you proceed under the order of conditions that we issue, that you do so at your risk, because there is a 45-day extension for the appeal period. That's a little bit of a bump in the road, but I think we've got a lot of bumps and we'll be able to handle it, as will DEP. That's essentially informational. So first on the agenda here is a modification of an order of conditions at 1040 Hillside Street. John Thompson, are you going to address that issue?
Hi, John. Actually, there I am. I have John Himlin here from Woodard and Curran. He's the town's engineering consultant for this project. So I was just going to have him give a brief presentation, and I more wanted to be here in case the commission had any questions from me.
All right, thanks, John, very much.
Thank you.
Now, where do we find Jim?
Hi, John Himlin here with Woodard and Curran. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, thanks.
So I wasn't clear that we were requesting a modification of the order of conditions, but let me tell you what we have done. We obtained.
Can I hold you for a minute? I apologize for interjecting, but for the benefit of the public, no one really knows what the project is. Can you just give us sort of a short synopsis of what the project is? The pumping station, the improvement, where it's located on Hillside Street, and what the purpose of the improvement is.
Yes. So the location is 1080 Hillside Road. There's an existing.
Is it 1080 or 1040? I have 1040 on the agenda.
Yes, I apologize. It's 1040.
Okay.
Yes. There's an existing wastewater pump station that's in this location now that's owned and operated by the town of Milton. The project is to upgrade that pump station. It's the existing station is fairly old and somewhat under capacity at times. And so the project is to improve that pump station. And does that address you asked me to give a brief summary. Did I answer all the
It
questions?
does, but it's a pump station to handle the sewerage going into the MWRA main line, is that correct?
That's correct. It takes flow from some residential properties in Milton and also from the DCR property.
All
properties.
right, and that's adjoining or next to or nearby Houghton's Pond and the Silverbrook neighborhood, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, just to get people oriented.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go
Yep.
ahead.
Yep. Okay, so we, Woodard and Curran, I'm a project manager with Woodard and Curran. We obtained a order of conditions for the project. The project was bid by the town of Milton and awarded to a contractor. They indicated that they needed to remove some trees in order to do the work. And so Woodard and Curran met with Steve Ivis and with the contractor about a month ago and reviewed that tree removal plan. And I believe that information was forwarded to Mr. Ivis, and so I was here to basically, I guess, get approval to remove those trees.
So there are 10 of them, 10 trees, is that correct?
There are approximately 10 trees. They are small, fairly scrubby pine trees that we determined are in the way of construction and also really shouldn't be there in the first place from a access and maintenance of the pump station standpoint.
Mike, thanks for putting that demolition plan up. Can you show us a picture of the trees? Because they seem to be a little bit larger than shrubs.
Oh, yeah, those are,
Agreed, yeah.
They're all white pine, or they
Yeah.
appear to be white pine.
yeah.
Is there one black cherry also? Steve Ivis had mentioned that.
That's the smallish one, John.
Yes, I know. Okay. And
Yeah, that's the black cherry right there. Yeah.
Am I correct, Jim, that you're going down 29 feet to do this upgrade to the system?
That's right. The excavation is about 30 feet deep. That's right.
Wow.
All right, so that I assume would damage or destroy the roots if you're going down that deep. Am I correct?
That's correct. And it's going to require a fairly large excavator, and the excavator really wouldn't be able to navigate those trees.
And in addition to that, are you looking to store the excavator there for a period of 4 to 6 weeks?
That's correct.
Do you know the distance to the wetlands? I think you're pretty close, but do you know the actual distance?
Mm.
It is pretty close. I would estimate it's within 10 to 20 feet of the wetlands.
Right. Do you have a spill control plan? I understand the difficulties because I've talked to Steve Ivis about it, and you'd have to have a flatbed truck to haul it out each day if you didn't leave it there. But if you're to leave it there, and we've had situations before when the equipment was too big to move, but we would require a spill control plan that would be pretty detailed because of the danger, the risk of the hydraulic lines popping.
Yes, we can obtain a spill control plan for sure.
All right, and do you have any kind of a plan for replanting some of the trees that are being removed?
I can jump in for this one, John. John, it's sort of my opinion that the trees that we're actually requesting to take down here tonight probably shouldn't have been allowed to grow as close to and encroach on the station as much as they have. So if the commission would like us to replant trees elsewhere, I think as a DPW would be more than happy to do so. I would be, I wouldn't recommend planting trees back in the same location just because it's in such close proximity to the actual the operational pump station.
That makes perfect sense, John. And because the town is the applicant, I think the town's got plenty of places that they could plant trees.
Absolutely.
Any thoughts on that issue from commission members? Seems to make sense to me.
Yep,
Seems
agreed.
appropriate.
Are you sure, John, there's no place on the outside perimeter that you couldn't put a couple of trees just to fill in or save a couple?
So we could certainly look at that, and maybe I could just request to perhaps meet Steve Ivis there as the project's winding down to look at potentially doing that. There may be some room at the back of the site of where the elevated pad drops off that we might be able to plant some smaller trees.
But just to be clear, that pad is built up, correct? I mean,
It is.
Is it riprap on the side and the back, or is it?
No, there's really not. It's really just a built-up earthen pad that was constructed years ago when the station was built.
Okay, and the actual property, are the limits of it shown on that plan? Or what does the town own, or would it be on DCR land?
It is actually DCR property. It's part of the DCR reservation, and the town simply has an easement.
Steve is here, by the way.
Hey, Steve. Hey, welcome.
Yeah, lights came back just 10 minutes ago.
Oh, good news.
Wonderful.
I want to say that it drops down, but there's a short area of upland just between the toe of the slope of the pad and the wetland to the east of the pad. So that could be, we could put some plantings in there.
But if it is easement property, wouldn't it make more sense to put it on town-owned land?
Yes, but there's really not a lot of room on the pad.
So what John was saying, that you could find a different location within the town potentially.
Yes.
All right, that seems to make sense. Are there any other questions or comments?
Well, I think what we're talking about then, if John can work with Steve and just see if even 2 or 3 or 4 trees could be saved, that would be worthwhile.
We're fairly confident that the trees that are shown tonight, both on the plan and in the photos, need to be removed for the purposes of this project. I mean, they probably shouldn't have been allowed to grow there in the first place. I'm gonna chalk them being there up to lack of maintenance, to be honest. And secondly, it would just be a near impossibility to do what we need to do in terms of upgrading the equipment there with those trees in place. So I don't think there really is any chance of saving the trees, but there may be a chance. We'll certainly pledge to replace trees, the same amount of trees elsewhere around town, and if at all possible, to look at replacing some trees at the site as well.
Yeah, and I concur with that, John. This is Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
And Judith, keep in mind, they're going down 30 feet.
Wow, yeah,
That's gonna undermine any
Right.
kind of root system.
yeah. Okay,
All
gotta
right,
get sewer pumped.
yes, that's a good thing. That's an improvement.
It is a big improvement.
Are there any other questions from commissioners? Keeping in mind that we've got a tree plan that will be worked out with Steve Ivas and John Thompson, and we've got a spill control plan that will be presented, and I'm sure it will be acceptable, and it'll be contingent upon our acceptance by and through Steve Ivas. And that would be, go back to Jim. Is that correct, that y'all provide the spill control plan?
Yeah, sorry, John Himlin, we can.
I'm sorry,
provide
John.
that. That's okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
okay.
apologize.
No problem. We can provide that spill plan, yes.
All right. Are there any other questions from commissioners before I ask for the public comment? Hearing none, are there any members of the public? And Mike Lynch, we're going to have to depend upon you to spot them if they're calling in by telephone. But are there any abutters or members of the public that would like to ask a question or make a comment?
So we can just make the announcement if you'd like to speak and you're calling on the phone, if you can press *9. So for members on the phone, no one has pressed *9. If there's any members that are logged in via the app, if you just raise your hand.
All right, well, it looks like we don't have any questions or comments from the public. So at this juncture, it appears that we don't have a notice of intent before us because we've already issued an order of conditions. And the question before us is whether or not this is an insignificant or a significant change to the order of conditions. So we can take a vote on first. If it's insignificant, then we can simply make a revision to the order. So is there a motion that it is not a significant change to the order of conditions?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? All those in favor indicate, I think I can see you for an aye. That's a unanimous vote that it's not a significant change. So now there'll be a second vote as to whether or not we should revise the original order of conditions to include the removal of those trees and the acceptance of a spill control plan to protect the resources against any kind of spillage from the earth excavator. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand so we can see it. You could be high enough to be in the camera. That's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. I think you're set to go, John and John.
Thank you very much to the commission.
Thank you.
All right,
you.
thanks all.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next on the agenda is 693 711 Randolph Avenue, and I know that Paul Holland has been waiting there patiently.
Hello.
There you are. Okay. Well, you're, as I understand it, you're asking for continuance, and I
That's-
believe that everybody knows, that is, all the commissioners know that we have received from you or your representative through your attorney at Beveridge and Diamond, a pretty significant packet of material that I confess that we just received it on Friday, so I have not yet had a chance to digest it, but it has gone out to the commission members, number one. And
Okay.
number two, I think Jim Burke, and I know you're on here, Jim, I think Jim was going to send a hard copy to Matt Lundgren, who was our consultant. And then in addition to that, and I don't know if it would go to Jim Burke, but could you, Paul or Jim Burke, send to Kathy Bowen a hard copy? Because we need a hard copy for the public record file at DPW.
Both of those, this is Jim Burke. Both of those packages have been delivered.
Great, thank you, Jim.
Sure.
And with that, do all commission members now have a copy of what's been submitted?
yes, online. I've seen it.
Online, correct, okay. All right. Everybody else? Hans, did you receive a copy? Wendy, yes. Ingrid, did you also
believe
receive a copy?
so. I'll have to
Okay.
check.
Okay. All right, if not, then I can get it to you.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you very much for that, Paul. And with that background, Are you requesting a continuance until May?
I am. Yes.
All right. And I think we're all in agreement that we can continue that. That'll give us a chance to digest what you have submitted to us.
Until May, Paul, would it be better to do it till June, considering everything that's going on? Does it change?
I mean, I think that's up to you. I'm good with May.
Okay.
So
I'm okay with May, and I'm an optimist.
Okay,
I am too.
that's fine. then.
All right, everybody comfortable with that? Are there any questions from abutters or members of the public? Because the intent at this juncture is to continue this matter until I think it's the 14th of May. Is anybody, Steve, do you know, Steve Ivas?
I'll check in a moment.
Would we anticipate having the third-party consultant present at that hearing?
That's a great question, and I know I can't answer it until I read the documents. There are a few hundred pages of documents that Paul and the applicant have submitted. So I'm not yet in a position to even know that. I'm sure that we'll have questions to go back to Matt and CEI, our consultant. And the idea is if they respond in a written format, that would become a public record, and the applicant and members of the public would be entitled to read it. And it may be appropriate to start the process and then ask any additional questions that may come up at a public meeting. So what I can anticipate is that if we all have a chance to review it, we could probably ask some pretty good questions at the May meeting, and that, given your question, might be a good time to have our consultant present.
And that meeting is the 12th of May.
The 12th of May. All right, thank you.
Yes.
All right, so I think we've got enough time to digest what's been submitted and come up with some questions. And if we've got some pretty substantive questions, that might be a good opportunity to invite Matt Lundgren to the May 12th meeting. That I'm looking for a consensus here. That seems to be an appropriate plan. Okay. All right. Why don't we plan on doing that, Paul? We'll try to digest what you've got, formulate our questions, and invite Matt Lundgren to the May 12th meeting.
Great.
If we have to continue it, so be it. But let's shoot for the 12th of May.
Sounds good.
All right, Al?
Yeah. That's
All right,
fine.
good. All right. So with the assent of the applicant, we'll continue this until May 12th. Thank you very much.
all right, great. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is notice of intent at 148 Hillside Street. Do we have an applicant?
Is George Collins on by any chance?
I don't see him on the list of people in front of me, Steve, but Mike Lynch, can you? I wouldn't know what his telephone number.
This is George.
Oh, good. Oh, perfect.
Oh, good.
George, can you describe what the project is and where it is?
Yes, sure. Just for the record, this is George Collins, registered professional engineer of Collins Civil Engineering Group. And I'm representing Thomas and Catherine Caputo for a septic upgrade for existing single-family home located at 148 Hillside Street. The property is located on the south side of Hillside Street, and to the east of the property is Crooks Brook, and associated with Crooks Brook is a bordering vegetated wetland. So we had the mean high water mark delineated and the bordering vegetated wetland delineated by Brook Monroe. The work itself is going to take place in the front yard where the existing septic system is. This is an existing lawn area. There are two non-indigenous trees out front that we've actually discussed relocating them on the property. We're going to try to keep them and relocate those two trees. And essentially,
George, can I interrupt for a moment?
sure.
Do you have a plan that you could ask Mike Lynch to put up on the screen?
Sure. I mean, there was the plan that was submitted with the
There you
project. Yep, there it is.
Yep, that's it right there. Good.
Yeah. So again, you have Crooks Brook on the right, which is the easterly side of the plan, and then there's a bordering vegetated wetland, and then you can see Hillside Street and the proposed septic systems right in the front yard, which is where the existing septic system is. It should also be noted that this is a 7-year-old septic system that's in substantial failure. There's actually periodically there's actually liquid at the ground surface. I won't bore you with the details, but I do believe there's some engineering deficiencies that led to the premature failure of the system.
You said 7 years old?
Yes, 7-year-old septic system. I have a young family just purchased the property not too long ago, and they have young children, and now all of a sudden, they've been having problems for a little while. And then a couple of other things to be aware of is we did obtain the sewer connection waiver from the Board of Health. The sewer is not anywhere near this property, and we do have Board of Health approval. And then a couple other things, I do have some standard notation regarding storage and refueling of all equipment to be outside the 100-foot buffer zone. Also, monitoring and maintenance of the erosion control system, which encompasses the whole work limit, that type of thing. So, the actual area where the septic system is relatively flat area, so we're not anticipating any issues during construction as far as any type of runoff. But ultimately, we just want to fix this premature failure, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that the commission may have at this time.
And I should add that I've seen the site, looked at every single one of the flags, and I agree with their locations. Both the DVW flags you start at the stone wall very close to Hillside Street and move backwards, as well as the mean annual high water flags of the brook.
And to that same note is I do have a note in the plan that this wetland resource area depicted is exclusively for this project. So we're not necessarily seeking approval of the wetland resource line. I know sometimes the commission likes to prove things in the field, but at this point, we're not seeking approval of the line, just approval of the activity.
All right, I don't have the plan in front of me, but, and I don't have the hard copy of it. And I can't see it here, but is there any indication as to what the stream is there? Because that is a controversial stream in terms of whether or not it's intermittent or perennial in the Hillside Street area.
I believe, I'm classifying it and treating it as perennial.
And I would agree.
Okay. All right, I can't see it on the screen in front of me, but sometimes these plans show up and it says intermittent stream, and I just didn't want that to happen here.
It's just east of number 13 and number 14.
I have it listed as a perennial stream.
Right, and it's on the plan.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike, for moving that plan.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Zooming in.
Perfect.
Yep.
Also looks like it's shown as perennial on the locus.
Yes, yep, it is shown as a solid blue line on the USGS maps.
Right.
And, in situations, especially like this, we just usually default to considering it plead no contest and call it perennial. We paid the fees, the 150% fees, and did provide an alternatives analysis. Should be also noted that this property was subdivided prior to '96, and it's my understanding that septic upgrades are exempt for anything from the River Protection Act. But that's all kind of besides the point. Just
in In terms of the prior system, is there any indication as to why it failed?
Yes, yep. I think they lucked out and got a good perk rate and a poor soil. So we actually we dug down. We were in a very dense material, down to approximately 9 feet, and then we broke through that material into an uncompacted material. So we're speccing out a pretty substantial remove and replace. And then in addition to that, my opinion that the groundwater determination was incorrect. The existing system is a gravity-fed system, and what we're proposing is a pump system to achieve proper water table separation. So I think it was groundwater encroachment and just a lucky perk rate in a very, very dense material. That's my opinion on why this thing failed prematurely.
So I guess my real question is there any lessons learned for the commission that we can keep an eye out for in the future?
Probably to make sure, double check the perk rates and the soil types perhaps, George, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, you're leaving it up to the registered professional engineer to do the right thing. And, a lot of times in these situations, I don't find a smoking gun. But in this case, my opinion, they had a fictitiously good perk rate and a bad water table determination.
Who, may I ask who the engineer was?
His name is Bill Gottwald. And I don't want to completely throw him under the bus, but just obviously that was my opinion when I looked at it. Bill does have a lot of experience, but obviously a lot of these things are, the water table determination, that's an opinion. But the perk rate, sometimes you luck out and you get a perk rate, and if it's that suspicious that you got that good of a perk rate in a dense material, then it should be up to that professional to say, hey, let's try getting a second perk rate and make just for some checks and balances. But that did not happen.
Thank you.
But this system is larger than the previous system, and we're stripping out down to a better material. So I believe we're gonna, this is gonna be a good system that should last indefinitely with proper maintenance.
And when I visited, I think it was exactly 2 weeks ago today, you could tell it was failing by smell. Yeah.
All right, any other questions from commissioners? It seems to be appropriately designed, a bigger system, better fill. It looks like an improvement to me. And Steve has seen the wetland flags, and it's clearly within our jurisdiction, but it's an improvement. And the fact that it's proximate to the perennial stream is all the more grounds to issue a permit for an improvement. Are there any other questions from commissioners? And then I'm going to ask for any public comment or abutters. Hearing none, are there any members of the public, primarily abutters first, and then members of the public? Mike Lynch, can you help us on that? We can't see the telephone numbers.
Yep, so if anyone's on the phone, if they can just press *9. And then if there's any member or any people that are logged in through the app, if you want to just raise your hand.
Seeing none, hearing none, is there a motion to approve without boilerplate conditions? And when I say boilerplate, the public may not know what that means, but we do have a set of regular conditions. For instance, not storing hydraulic equipment overnight in our jurisdiction, not refueling equipment within our jurisdiction, putting out proper spill control around equipment, and having appropriate erosion control, especially near a perennial stream. So those are our regular conditions. I should call them regular instead of boilerplate. But those go along with all of our orders of condition. But with those extra orders, is there a motion to approve this notice of intent?
So moved.
Thank you. A second by Wendy.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Raise your hand so we can see it in the screen. I see everybody. Perfect. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. All right. Thanks, George.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next on the agenda is 92 Ford Ranch Road. Is that George as well?
Yes.
Can you tell us about this one, please?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, George Collins. I'm representing Mr. Andrew Wilkie, the owner of 92 Ford Ranch Road. And again, this is a very similar situation. And coincidentally, this is the exact same brook. The brook goes from, travels from south to north. And this is Crooks Brook. So this is about a quarter of a mile to the north of Ford Ranch Road intersects with
Hillside Street.
With Hillside Street. And so
Mike,
basically,
can you put the plan up? Probably 5A. Are you there, Mike? Mike
Yep,
Lynch?
just give me 1 second. Yep, I'm putting it up now.
Great, thank you very kindly.
So does anyone know if this brook is one of the stormwater sampling locations that the town looks at?
Do not know.
I think it is downstream, Hans, not in that area.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's further down is another plan, Michael. Oh, that's the notice of intent. There's another file that has the plan in it. Sorry.
Oh, I see it. Hold on. That's my bad.
Sure, that's no problem. Yes, sorry to interrupt you, George, but I figured it'd be better to look at the plan.
sure.
There we go. There we go.
So just a little bit of history on this, on the brook. Basically, the brook, the way the trajectory it cuts across the property on the south end, the brook used to kind of go do like an S curve through what's the subdivision now, and they literally intercepted the brook, ran it through a 3-foot diameter pipe straight down the road, and then cut over. So obviously, this is all pre-River Protection Act. So anyway, the property is located on the west side of Ford Ranch Road. On the southerly end of the property, you have Crooks Brook that crosses on the southerly property line, and then it enters a stormwater system. There's a head wall, and then that goes into the street, under the street, and then it continues up Ford Ranch Road, and then ultimately it exits Ford Ranch Road to another head wall and continues a couple houses down on the opposite side of the street. So again, we're considering this to be a perennial stream. We have the Topper Bank identified as the resource limit. We have the 50 and 100 foot and 200 foot jurisdictions, the 50 and 100 foot wetland wetland jurisdictions, and then the 200 foot setback. And then if you look at the very top of the plan, the top left side of the site, there's a spot where the stream actually daylights on the other side of the street, and then I actually show the 200 foot jurisdiction coming in the other direction. So basically, the existing septic system is in the vicinity of the proposed septic tanks, which are on the northerly end of the site near the road. So what we're doing is we're siting a septic tank a septic tank and pump chamber in the front yard in the vicinity of the existing septic system. And then we're pumping out back to a soil absorption system in the rear of the property. The groundwater is so high in the front yard that we just decided that it was just not an appropriate location to site the septic system. I am proposing a pretty aggressive erosion control system that wraps around the entire southerly, easterly, and northerly work limits. The property slopes from left to right downhill, so obviously we don't have any erosion control uphill. I did propose erosion control off the driveway to give the contractor the option of accessing the backyard through either the driveway or in the septic tank, proposed septic tank location. I have erosion control proposed along the edge of the road, again, because that's downhill. And then I have silt sacks that are proposed in the catch basins in front of the house. And then this Ford Ranch Road, about 300 feet to the north, terminates at a cul-de-sac, and there are 2 catch basins at the end of the cul-de-sac. And just as a contingency plan, in case we do have any off-site, if anything does get off-site as far as during construction, I have silt sacks also proposed at the end of the cul-de-sac, just as a backup plan in case any of the proposed erosion controls are breached. And then I do have, if you look at note 15 under wetland control, silt sacks to be installed at the 2 catch basins at the end of the cul-de-sac, contracted to maintain and monitor during work and remove after work is completed. So again, just not ideal circumstances under any, but I believe that this is a good way to tackle this. We're maximizing the distance from the resource itself, and that in conjunction with an aggressive erosion control plan. I do have a dewatering pit proposed. And then one other thing to be aware of is we are proposing the replacement of the sidewalk in front of the house. We have coordinated with the Department of Public Works. What it is because of the high groundwater and freeze-thaw cycles, the sidewalk in front of the house is in horrible, horrible condition. So part of the scope of work is also replacement of that sidewalk. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions anybody may have at this time.
Where's the sidewalk replacement, George?
You see where the erosion control is along the road?
Yes.
It's to the left of that, so it's encompassed within the. So you have like the catch basins, and then you have a grass strip, then you have erosion control, and then the sidewalk is between the erosion control and the property line.
Mm-hmm. And it is in bad shape. I looked at it today, actually.
So again, and then the actual work limit and erosion control encompass the sidewalk replacement portion of this.
So George, you're saying the stream itself, as what we're seeing on the lower right side of the plan, that's all underground in a pipe?
Nope, it's the part where it enters the site.
Yes.
On the southerly property, that's open to daylight, and then you have and then that goes to a head wall, which is kind of it's like a long skinny rectangular, and then at that point it enters the stormwater system.
And Judith, there's no BVW along the stream.
Wow.
It's just a stream, and it's been landscaped in the past, right down to the stream.
Because the driveway is so close to that stream. I'd be concerned about, trucks entering if they're using the driveway.
And we do have erosion control between the driveway and the stream.
Right. Yes.
there a retaining wall by that? At the,
No.
between head wall and the drainage easement?
No.
There's really just a head wall there, not a retaining wall.
It looks like there's
Yeah.
something that.
Yeah, I think there is a small retaining wall there.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
But like I said, and then the thing of it is, you got to realize is this whole site slopes from south to north. So everything's going to everything's going to actually either float, any surface water will run either towards the street or to the north away from the stream. It's the strangest thing. If you go on the site, the stream is up the hill. Like if you're standing right in front of the house, the stream is up the hill to the left.
That's true.
So I do feel like just hydraulically it lends itself well to not being an issue.
I would agree with that, George. This is Steve, yeah.
All right, and for the public's benefit, we've been in this area several times in the last few months. What was the number right next to the bridge going into Wentworth Farms? 58?
Just the other side, yeah.
Just the other side of the bridge. Right, because this is on the same side of the street, and it is the
Yeah,
same
those
street.
new houses are immediately behind this property.
Yeah, and it abuts the entrance, John, I believe.
Yes, it does. Right.
Yes.
I walked down to that very driveway the last time we were there, just following the stream. So this does look like an improvement. It's moving the leaching further away from the stream. So I think it looks like an improvement to me. Again, I think, George, how long will the project take from a construction phasing perspective?
It depends on the contractor, but the contractor, I believe that's doing the work would probably do this in about a 2-week period.
All right, I do have some concerns raised by what Judith just said, and that is the driveway is very close to the stream. So we certainly want the equipment to be stored elsewhere. Is that doable from your perspective?
Yes, yep, and I do have a note on the plan for if you look at wetland note 14, all equipment refueling and maintenance must take place outside the 100-foot buffer zone. So you know there is a.
Where are you? I'm reading the notes. 14 is the loam and seed.
This is that's the standard notes. This is the wetland and erosion control notes in the bottom center portion of the plan.
All right, thank you very much. I see that 14.
I think to Judith's point, I think it would be smart to limit the use of the driveway as much as feasible. I don't know how we might condition that, but
I basically, you know, when at the time that I did the design, I wasn't sure who was going to be doing the work. The contractor's name is Ed Hart from Ed Hart Title V Services. He did indicate that more than likely he would be approaching the whole project from the where the tanks are going. But I just wanted the logistics are very difficult out there, and I just wanted to provide the option of going up the driveway. You know, it's one of these things, everything looks great on paper. From an engineering standpoint, I just wanted to facilitate things from a construction standpoint and not propose something that was going to be impossible.
And I would like to add, George, that that's quite a steep slope right there as well for heavy equipment to access.
But regardless of which way you access this, it's a steep slope, whether you go up the driveway or whether you go up the hill. Unfortunately, it's just topographically, it's not ideal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Could we add to number 14 that you have on the plan? All equipment refueling and maintenance and storage must take place outside the 100-foot buffer zone?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably a gig on my end. I was trying to replicate your standard condition. Yes, I mean, If you want us to add it to the plan, that's fine. But, more importantly, if it's listed as a condition in the order of conditions, and it sounds like if it's anything like the previous application, that's going to be a standard condition. So yes, I really do need to add storage to that note. But, whatever you think is appropriate.
That's good. You will do both. It'll be part of our standard order. And if you add it to your plan, that's great. They will be consistent.
Sure. So what I'll do is I'll add that to the plan, and what I'll do is I'll send Steve a PDF to follow with hard copies, of course, and then we can reference the revised plan. This plan has 2 revisions on it right now. The latest revision being 3/11/20, so there'll be a revision 3, and I can add that language to the plan regarding storage outside the 100.
That would be great. Any other questions or comments from commission members?
What's the approximate age of this system?
I'm not sure. I think some maintenance was done on it. Some substantial maintenance was done on it about 25 years ago. So there's actually original equipment components, and then there's also some modifications. If you want to wait a minute, I could try to figure out approximately when the
Older than 7 years, I hope?
It was built in 1964.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think there's some original equipment probably from the late 60s. And then it's my understanding there may have been some modifications in the late 90s.
Okay.
And I don't think,
Any other questions from commissioners?
based on my experience or what I saw out there, I don't think the system was ever out of the groundwater. I think it's always been, the existing system's been in the groundwater the whole time. So obviously what we're proposing here is going to be substantially better. Yeah, this was subdivided in 1962.
All right, well, I'm comfortable that this is an improvement. Are there any other questions from commission members? I see none. Are there any abutters or members of the public that would like to ask a question or make a comment? And Mike, can I call upon you to check on the phone list?
Yes, if there's anyone on the phone that wishes to make a comment, they just need to hit the *9. That's *9. I don't see any of the phone calls. And then if anyone is on via the app, if they just raise their hand.
I see none. Are we ready for a motion to approve an order of conditions with the standard conditions in addition to what we see on the plan here, including the erosion controls? Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Wendy, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Hans. Any discussion? All in favor? Raise your hand, please, so it can be seen on the television here. Okay, perfect. Unanimous, Steve. Thank you very much. Thanks, George.
Thank you very much, and God bless everybody. And I don't know, just hopefully we'll get through this thing.
Thank you, George.
I think we will. We're well on our way. All right, take care.
Thanks.
Stay well.
Bye-bye.
Number 6 on the agenda is request for determination of applicability, 600 Canton Avenue. Is the applicant here?
I'm here.
Welcome, sir. Could you
Thank
identify yourself and tell us about your request?
So I'm personally not the applicant. The applicant is Winter Valley Residences. My name is Devin Howe, and I'm from Beals Associates, the engineering company looking over this project and design the project. Mike, I apologize. I had sent you an email a little bit late containing the plan, but do you have that plan available?
I'm going to put up the one I have.
Steve, I don't think you had it, so therefore Mike would not have it.
I did send it to Steve.
Steve, you still there?
Awesome.
There it is.
All right.
Yes, I am still here, John, and that's the plan I have.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Devin, is that the right plan?
Yeah, I don't see the PE stamp. It's
Okay.
more or less the same plan.
Uh-oh. more or less? Doesn't sound like an engineering term.
No, I'm just doing a quick look as fast as I could. It's the same plan. It's different from the one when we had the site walk with the commission back in, I believe that was February. But I can speak to that.
And this is the updated plan you sent me today.
Yes.
Is that what you need?
Yep. And it just has the PE stamp.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. So just to orient everyone, on the right side of the screen is Highland Street, and on Highland Street is the Milton Hospital. And off Highland Street is a existing paved driveway that extends into the site and provides emergency access to Winter Valley residences. And what we're proposing to do is repave this existing driveway. On the top side of that driveway is a wetland resource area, as well as on the bottom side. That's colored in that darker shade of green. And in that wetland resource area is an intermittent stream that flows through a culvert underneath the existing driveway. And in those lighter shades of green, there's the 25-foot buffer zone, as well as the 100-foot buffer zone that's shown in that lighter shade of green. So what we're proposing is to repave, Milton repave approximately 13,000 square feet of existing pavement. That repaving will be in the same location as what is out there today. We are not proposing to expand that pavement area at all. It'll be in the exact same place as it exists today. What we're proposing to do also is to install a P-stone diaphragm on the top side, planned top of that driveway, up to where we're proposing replacing an existing gravel driveway about in the middle of the sheet. And what that P-stone diaphragm will do is it'll recharge approximately ½ an inch of stormwater, which is the water quality event on a site such as this. In the middle of the screen, there's an existing gravel driveway that we're proposing to replace with 3/4 inch gravel. And the reason for that is I'd explained while we were out there with the commission members that as it exists today, there's a lot of water running down from Highland Street into the site and is washing away that gravel driveway and is eroding into the wetland and stream. So we're proposing to just restabilize that area with existing pavement. Moving to the left from that existing gravel driveway, we originally were proposing to install that same stone or P-stone diaphragm on the top side of that driveway. And as part of the discussion with the commission, we thought we decided to not install that P-stone diaphragm just because there was so much brush, root systems, and I think that the general idea, I won't speak for the commission, was just that it would probably do more harm than good to try and install that P-stone diaphragm. And then along Highland Street, there was quite a bit of stormwater that's been just pouring into the site. Our understanding was there was previously like a curb or some sort of berm that was preventing stormwater from just flowing into the site and is contributing to some of these erosion issues. So what we're proposing to do, and I've corresponded with John Thompson, the town engineer, back in actually October of last year. We had corresponded about this. He had gone out and done a quick survey just to ensure that the installation of a small berm along Highland Street would not cause any flooding or stormwater issues on Highland Street. And I guess at this point, I can answer any questions the commission may have.
I have a question for you, and we've been there and we've seen it. I think there's a consensus that the lines are appropriately drawn. It is a fairly sensitive area. So my question is, why is this an RDA instead of an NOI?
We just felt that because it's repaving existing pavement, that we try and just offer some stormwater management facilities that were small in nature as opposed to a large constructed facility. We just felt that based off that we would be able to go with an RDA as opposed to filing a full notice of intent for just a repaving operation.
My gut reaction is I think it's a large enough project that it should be a notice of intent, but I don't see a problem with it. I think we discussed fully, the benefits, the risks and the benefits of that, whatever you call it, a diaphragm, the drainage ditch, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
we did
all the
discuss
same
that,
thing.
and you were very receptive to the comments from the commission members when we were there. So I don't see an issue with it, and I think actually repaving sometimes helps. It eliminates or it reduces some of the deterioration of the macadam into the wetlands. So I think generally it's a good idea as long as it's done appropriately, and I'm sure that your contractor will adhere to our conditions. I'm just thinking that it's a large enough, particularly when you're changing a little bit of the Highland Street, you're putting a berm in there. Not that that's a big project, but my instinct is that we have to be very sensitive to wetlands in these areas. And we've got another project which is right next door to you, which is going to be somewhat controversial, and we're going to make sure we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's in terms of the wetlands protection. I don't know. I don't feel strongly one way or the other, and I actually don't see a problem with your proposal. I think generally it's an improvement.
Mr. Chair, if I can also just add, the pavement as it exists today is just really deteriorating, falling apart, and is starting to erode into the wetlands. Well, it's funny. I think I was out there kind of just before winter time, and a huge 30-inch pine tree just snapped because it had rotted out and just fell right across that driveway and just kind of smashed it up just even more. We are also proposing to install erosion control measures along that driveway to just ensure that any pavement operations, the impact on that wetlands is mitigated as well.
Yeah, John, I don't see that it's a problem to have it as an RDA. In some ways, it's maintenance and an improvement. And I think we are in agreement that we don't need the stone edging because it's a well-vegetated wetland. And I think we also talked about that area there is actually, from the Olmsted plans and gardens from the 1920s, I believe. So, the less that we impact it, the better. And it's already a natural, I think we talked about this, a natural area that will absorb the water correctly. I'm comfortable having it as an RDA, particularly as the driveway is in such bad condition, and it does need to be used if it's an emergency vehicle access.
I think you're talking about the merits of the application, and I happen to agree with you 100%. And I try not to be a form over substance guy, but I'm really talking about form. But now that you brought it up, and maybe Devin can help me out, in the area closest to Branch Lane's home, that there is an area that you were going to include the gravel drainage section. I can see it right smack in the middle of the diagram as it's currently displayed. Replace existing gravel driveway, that area right there.
Yes.
And that is, what size gravel is that? And is that going to be an improvement? Because right now it seemed to be kind of like a rutted area that did need some improvement. So I salute you for doing that. But tell us about the upgrade in that section.
So the upgrade is kind of two components. The main issue right now is the amount of stormwater that's coming into the project site off Highland Street is helping to contribute erosion where that existing gravel driveway used to be. So it's really deteriorated out and washed out towards the wetlands. I think when we were out there, I was able to show the commission just generally, you could actually see where that erosion and gully was starting to occur towards the wetlands. So by replacing that existing driveway with 3/4 inch crushed stone, it's going to stabilize that area and should reduce any erosion towards the wetlands, in addition to the berm that will direct water to how it went, back before they repaved Highland Street and removed that section of curbing.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from commissioners?
Yeah, can you talk me through the area where you're going to excavate the gravel at the depression from the sewer pipe?
Sure. So there's a existing sewer pipe under the roadway there. And it's just, you can see it when you're out there. It dips down in the road. So just what we want to do is excavate that out, recompact the gravel properly. I think part of the problem was just whenever they put that sewer pipe in, the gravel wasn't compacted properly, or whatever material they even used as backfill wasn't compacted properly, and it's just creating a depression in the driveway in that area. So we just want to excavate that back out, put in some proper backfill material, and compact it.
What would you estimate the depth?
I don't want to guess. I'm not sure exactly how deep that would go.
Okay.
I don't have as-built plans of the sewer in that area.
Okay. I mean, to me, that's, well, aside from that, one other question, the stone trench that you're proposing, is that existing, or would that be a new, something new?
That would be a new stormwater feature.
Okay. So those two things are the aspects that I'm kind of on the fence about. If it was simply just to mill and replace, it would be very straightforward. But yeah, those two aspects are the two things that kind of, especially considering the unknown of the depth that you're going to have to dig down to that sewer pipe. I mean, are you talking about a foot, or are you talking about 4 feet?
I don't think we want to go down nearly,
yeah,
4 to 10 feet deep. I think a couple feet down just to try and recompact what we can.
Mm-hmm.
And in response to the stone trench, we had put that in as more or less just a good faith gesture to the commission. So if the commission doesn't want that stone trench, we can happily remove that stone trench. We were just trying to provide some water quality treatment to the stormwater as part of our repaving operation.
Well, I thought we'd reduced it in the discussion, not eliminated it.
Well, we did. I'm just, as a response to the concern about the stone trench, as part of our discussions while we were on site, we removed the stone trench to the left of where we're replacing that gravel driveway. However, we kept it to the right of that existing gravel driveway.
Right, that comports with my memory as well.
Yes, me too.
All right, so does that, well, what significance is that? I mean, both the sewer pipe area and the trench component, what's the significance of that to you, Hans?
I'm just, it's the sewer pipe more than anything, and what the extent of the excavation and recompaction will be, given that it's in the buffer, and given that it does seem to be the low point in the whole area.
Therefore, what?
During the work, it's just going to be a receiving area for any surface flow during when the work's going to be occurring. know if there's any way to protect that during the work. I suggest that.
Well, what about the timing of it? Should it be at, low water time? Should it be done in August or?
Yeah,
I'm not sure
that would be one of the measures that could be used.
Do you have a construction plan in place, Devin, right now? I mean, do you have any time pressure on you to get this done?
We originally started discussing this back last year. Kind of winter came and it's kind of been pushing off, but I think the goal would be to start it in spring. I think what we could do with that sewer pipe is just check the weather and make sure that we don't have rain in the forecast. It's not like there's a substantial amount of work to recompact that gravel. So as long as it's done during a dry period, I don't think that should be an issue.
What do you mean by dry period? Seasonal?
I just mean if
a break in the weather?
it's just a break in the weather. That's all I meant by that.
Hans, are you comfortable with that response?
Yeah, I guess.
That
Not
doesn't
every-
sound like a
Not
resounding
every vote has to be unanimous.
Well, no, I mean, if it's appropriate to stall it until a dry period, then so be it. I think we can work together. I think overall it's a good project, but let's make sure it's done the right way.
Mr. Chairman, Steve Ibis here. I think we should just add a condition that somebody gets to inspect while they're doing the work, so that if there are any problems, we can see them and act to stop the problem.
Sure. Why don't we add to that, get notice of when the construction is going to start, and then
Right.
You'd have an opportunity to be there on site during that, particularly that section that Hans is concerned with. And that
Yes.
is the low point, very definitely.
Right.
I was actually going to suggest to also just notify the commission. We'd be happy to
Okay.
with those conditions.
I'm fine with that.
All right. Any other comments from commissioners? I don't see any. All right, then let's invite any abutters or members of the public that have a question or a comment. And I'd include in that, Mike Lynch, if you see anybody on the telephone line.
Again, if anyone's on the phone, they just need to press *9. And if anyone's on the app, they can raise their hand.
I see none. Now, this would be then, it sounds like there's a consensus to go with the RDA, which would be a negative determination with conditions. And those conditions, I think we've stated, and they would include our regular, sorry to use the word boilerplate conditions, but no storage overnight, no refueling of the combustion engine and hydraulic equipment, et cetera. And as discussed, the erosion controls, the notification of us as to when the construction is to begin to allow Steve Ivers to be on site during the construction phase, at least in terms of recompacting that new gravel area. Anything else that commission members can think of? These would be conditions of a negative determination of an RDA. Anything else?
No, I think it sounds good, John.
All right, then Judith, do you have a motion?
Yeah, I would move that we accept the terms here and issue a negative determination.
All right, is there a second?
I second
Wendy?
it.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand so we can see. Everybody, unanimous. Thank you very much. You got that, Steve?
Yes, thank you. Yep.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Devin.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next is
Thank
number
you.
7 on the agenda, and that's extension of order of conditions at 37 Robin Street. And I believe that you've been very patiently waiting since about 7:15. Mr. Holland, are you there?
I'm on Bradley. I'm the next two.
Oh, okay. All right, do we have anybody for 37 Robin Street? That's a request for an extension?
Hi, yes, this is Eurydice Barrows and Eugene Barrows here. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry for that. I've been having Wi-Fi connectivity issues, so I apologize. So we submitted a letter, and the reason why we are requesting an extension is because of the current crises. We are now awaiting some estimates to come in so we can finalize our contract agreement. But based on the current crises, we were asked to seek an extension just because we're concerned with supply chain issues and permit backlog, and because our order conditions will expire early next year in January. We just wanted to make sure we had enough time to complete this and not have that as an issue for us.
Sure. Could you go back one step and said, or did I miss it?
Can you repeat that, sir? I'm sorry.
Yes, I was asking you to repeat your comment. You said it's hygiene. Did I miss it?
I'm sorry.
John, you're breaking up. I couldn't hear you.
I think
So could the resident just needs to mute the meeting if they're watching it? There was feedback from her microphone. So if you're watching the meeting, if you could just mute it.
Okay.
We can try.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
That's
indeed.
much better, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay, can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry
Sure.
about that.
My question, and I may have misheard you, but I thought you said that there was a hygiene issue that caused the need for an
Can't hear.
extension. I wasn't sure if that's what you said.
Oh, God.
I think she said supply chain.
Supply
Yes.
chain. Got it. Okay. Okay. Understood. All right. Thank you. And this was a project that had been started by Paul Sullivan. Is that correct?
We're gonna call in. I don't know if you can hear us.
Yes, we can hear you. My question to you was this a project started by Paul Sullivan, who's now passed on?
She says so in her letter, John, yes. The letter of April 6th.
It's in my hand. That's why I'm asking. I was just asking for the reason for the extension. Ms. Barrows,
It looks like they're I think they're trying to call in on the phone. I'll just wait for their phone call.
Okay, all right, good, thanks.
I'll let you know when they call in.
All right, thanks. And my next, for commission members, my next question was going to be how long do they want for an extension?
And again, on the application, they're saying 3 years exactly till January 5th of 24. But I was thinking, John, with the current, the governor's order, that we have to add 45 days to that, don't we? To give them the extra time for the COVID.
Sure, but their permit doesn't run out until January of 2021. So they're very timely. They're here in plenty of time. They've
Right.
got 8 or 9 months on their current permit. And I don't know why they'd need an additional 3 years. That would be a 6-year permit. I should think to accommodate the developer and the contractors and supply chain, a period of time shorter than 3 years would be sufficient. But that's why I wanted to ask you that.
I see.
I think they're coming back now.
All right, good, thanks.
So if you can hear,
The current one should run out in 21, shouldn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, 21. So then, yeah,
next January.
okay.
Any luck, Mike Lynch?
If you're on the phone and you're calling in, if you could just hit *6 or *9.
Hello? Hello?
We
Hi.
hear you.
Hi.
You're back
Oh.
on.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
Okay.
So we're on the phone now. So if you have your question, you can ask.
Sure. The question had to do with, was Paul Sullivan's unfortunate demise one of the reasons for your request for an extension?
Well, that was part of the initial delay. Yes, yes,
Okay.
because
These are
then we
both
had to
softball
find it.
questions. And I'm just looking for the reason, so we have a rationale to give you the extension. And how much time do you think you need? Because you're asking for 3 years, which would take you to January of 2024, which sounds like an awfully long extension. Do you need that much time?
Well, yes. I mean, the reason why we asked for the maximum just because we're not sure, how long this crisis will last. I mean, it could take a year. I mean, we're not sure, so that's why we're asking for that.
Well, I would hope that the crisis is not going to last until January of 2024.
Oh, no. I mean, we're ready to, we're I guess if, hold on.
I'm sorry, this is Eugene. Yeah, so we have all the designs ready. We're at the final stages where, we have our finance and everything secured. At this point, we're told that the lumber companies, they've taken anywhere from 2 months to 3 months to get estimates, and we, in order to finalize our budget, we have to wait until those estimates come in and sign a contract. But I think we're in the final stages, but to be sure, at least we would need I'm thinking at least 2 years if possible, or a year and a half, just to be sure, because I'm not sure how with the code, obviously people are backlogged with a lot of work they have, general contractors, so I'm not sure. But we were just asking the max because that's what there was in the guidelines, but we're willing to work with you guys. What do you think it's?
All right. Well, I understand your predicament, both with the passing of Paul Sullivan and the current crisis, and I do understand that. So I would be in support of an extension, but I'd suggest something shorter than 3 years would be appropriate, and perhaps 2 years would be sufficient. That would give you a total of 5 years from the issuance of the order of conditions.
Yeah, yeah, 2 years would be okay with us. We just wanted to be on the safe side.
Do other commission members have a sense or a feeling as to what an appropriate extension would be?
God forbid something happens, they're entitled to come back and get another extension. Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. We live with that. We can live with that.
Any other commission members?
Yeah, I think the 2 years is a good idea. Why don't we do that? I would support that.
Wendy, you okay with that? Okay, and Jerry, it sounds like you are as well?
Yes, I am.
All right. Are there any members of the public, or butters first, and then members of the public who wish to ask a question or make a comment? Michael Lynch, do you see anybody on the line?
No.
All right, thank you. Then is there a motion to approve an extension of 2 years for the order of conditions that was issued in January of 2018?
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
No, we haven't voted yet.
Oh.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Was that Jerry and Hans?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor? I see everybody's hand unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Barrows and Ms. Barrows.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is 138 Bradley Road. Now we've got two of them, which is 8 and 9, and we've got two DEP numbers, I guess. So if you could help us out as to why there are two DEP numbers.
Is someone from DeSalle Burke still on the line?
Yeah, this is Jim DeSalle. Can you hear me?
Yep. I was gonna the background. I got on only because if any questions came up, but I know that I've been back and forth with Jim and yourself, so I figured I'd let you. If they need any extra color, I'm more than happy to chime in. But I think I'll let you take the microphone here.
There's no color to this. I hope. There's two order conditions that have been issued. And one of them, which was for an addition off the back of a house on 138 Bradley Road, which was actually about 150 feet from their wetland resource area. So I don't know why they even came before them, except for the fact that there was an order of conditions to build a subdivision. The only difference that I see from the proposed addition was that there was a 10-foot deck off the side of the addition, and it actually ended up being built as 12-foot, but it was still literally 160 feet from the resource area. So everything's been redone. The whole area has been reestablished because it's been about 20 years. So I can't see granting the.
Yeah, the porch was built in 1987, and I bought the house in 1996, and for some reason my bank didn't catch it back in 1996. So it's actually the certificates are outstanding since 1987.
Is there an enforcement order?
No, it wasn't an enforcement order. It was an order of condition.
So, Jim, have you filed a letter of an as-built in substantial compliance with the order of conditions?
Yes, we have.
I don't believe I have that one. Steve, do you have that?
I do not. I'm sorry, I do not.
Is it
We filed a
what?
I'm sorry, I do have it. It's dated March 3, 2020.
It was supposed to be taken up at the last meeting and it got canceled. That's why.
Oh yeah, this actually, I have a letter dated March 3. This was DEP file 46188. I do not have one on file 096.
You should have. We filed them both exactly the same day.
Yeah, okay. That's my bad filing. I apologize for that. Kathy may have it as well. Let me check with Kathy tomorrow, okay?
Just bear with me for a while because I'm now back into last month's package.
Okay. And so am I, John.
Actually, if you look on the screen, it's the letter you're.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
And that's for, I've got them both actually here.
Yep.
Okay.
That's 096 right there.
Yep, there we go. Okay, great. Glad to hear it.
And honestly, the first one was for the addition on the back of the house, which was well outside the jurisdiction of the board. So I'm not sure why they had to file it, but so on and so forth, but that's fine. And the second one was for, and I'm not sure if we're taking up the same one, the other issue at the same time, but was for a garage and addition on the side of the house. And that actually lapsed. And then Bob Hannigan filed with the, Bob Holland, like 5.5 years later, and he got a negative determination of applicability, so the technical 46188 lapsed.
But I've never seen a negative RDA without conditions attached. So.
I'm not sure, I think you were on both, but.
I've been there a long time, I'm sure.
I know you have, that's why I'm.
So can you say that, I don't have the negative RDA on the 46188, but can you say that?
188 got actually lapsed because when the negative determination and the actual garage got built, it was built under the negative determination of applicability. The 188 had already lapsed. It was like 6 years later, or 5.5 years later.
Yeah, the original owners were going to add in a garage when they added the sunroom, and they ended up not doing that. So they actually never built the addition. I actually ended up building it 10 years later, under a completely separate, permitted, all that fun stuff.
No, I understand that, but that's why I said, if there's an RDA that was a negative determination, you just heard us do it. We did it for 600 Canton Avenue, which is Winter Valley. We issued a negative determination with conditions. So whether or not the conditions were complied with. Do you know that, Jim?
The negative determination was, the negative determination was built under a permit that was done by actually the existing owner, where all these previous permits were by Mark Stokel and his wife.
I understand that. So I'm asking a different question. I think it's easy. I don't see any problems here, so I don't want the homeowner to be concerned. But what I'd like to be able to hear you say is that if there were conditions on the negative determination of the RDA, that they were complied with when the project was constructed. Is that something?
It was actually built in substantial conformance with Bob Hannigan's plan, which we weren't privy to. So I'm not sure exactly if that's what you're saying, because with the negative determination, we looked at the plan. You have a copy of our plan, and the house was built in substantial conformance with the negative determination. It wasn't in conformance per se with what we designed for the previous order conditions. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I understand that the original order conditions, that garage was never built. I get it. But later on, 10 years later, there was a request by the current homeowner to build something and filed an RDA. There was a negative determination, and typically they have conditions. So I'm just asking whether or not, if those conditions attached to the negative determination were complied with, with the completion of the project.
It's built the way they designed it. But I mean, I'm only going off of scaled plans that were done by Bob Hannigan that you have on record that I got from Kathy.
Okay.
So,
I'm sure this is very simple, and I don't mean to overcomplicate it. Maybe we could do a conditional approval, but I think what's going to happen, what needs to happen is, Steve, you've got to go back into, or ask Kathy Bowen to go back into the file and look at the RDA and see if there were certain conditions that went along with a negative determination.
Understood.
Okay, and I think it's going to be simple, Jim.
Okay.
Again, I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I just want to make sure that we're dotting i's and crossing t's. As we
But
should.
what does one have to do with the other?
Yeah, the town signed off on this. I mean, I had botanists, topographists marching through my property before I built that garage. We're talking about certificates from 1987. I want those cleared. That's it.
But
I don't think I'm asking for a lot here.
No, you're
Bob,
not.
hold on a second. We're not talking about the RDA or the negative determination. We're talking about the specific order of conditions that was done in whatever the number is. I'm getting 188 or whatever.
There were two, Jim.
Yes, and I understand that. And the first one, which was well outside the jurisdiction of the board, which was 95, which was done in like 1987. But the second one, which is the one that actually we did, that was never acted on. Never mind the garage that was built under the negative determination. We're not asking for that. We're just saying that the existing order of conditions that was provided for 46-188 or whatever the number is.
Can I interrupt for a
It
second?
was never built on. It was never built. So no offense, that's a negative. No, I mean.
Jim, I'm just reading your letter. It says, and I'm quoting, the existing garage and breezeway was subsequently constructed in 2002-2003.
Yep.
Under a negative determination of applicability dated 12/21/02. The area around the constructed garage and breezeway has been stabilized and revegetated.
Yep.
All I'm asking is whether or not the conditions attached to the negative determination of applicability dated 12/21/02 were complied with.
But does that have anything to do with
Yes.
46-188? That or our order of condition? I guess that's my question. That's a whole separate issue. I'm just telling you that it's been stabilized because it exists. I know what you're saying.
It sounds easy, and I don't think it's an issue.
Okay.
If you could, we could do it tomorrow. Is there any time to this, Brian? I mean, is there a financing or a sale?
It delayed my closing by 2 months, and now there's a holdback involved.
Yes.
Can I interrupt? This is Jim Burke.
Go ahead, Jim.
So we've got one order of conditions, 4696, that is from 1987. Is that correct? I would like to ask the board, the commission to put it to a vote to issue a certificate of compliance for that old order of conditions.
Yeah, that seems to be, the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed. Because it says here that you're saying that it was constructed in substantial compliance with the building plans.
Correct.
That's what we need. Thank you very much. So is there a motion to, well, I should ask for any other comments first, but I don't mind moving that one along. I'm just trying to find out what the conditions were on the second one.
Could you hold on 1 second? We have two numbers for the files, right? The two separate projects, one of which never got built and the other did. So the first one is the proposed garage, and that's DEP filed number ends in 188. Do you see that?
That's the wrong one. It's 46-96 that Jim Burke was just referring to.
Okay, and that did get constructed.
Correct. And we have Jim DeSelle's attestation that the sun deck and the sun room and deck were constructed in substantial compliance with the building plans filed with the DEP. It says DBA plan. All areas surrounding the deck and sunroom have been stabilized and vegetated. That's what we need to issue the certificate of compliance.
Correct.
That's 4696.
Okay.
Are there anyone want to ask a question, or are there any abutters or members of the public that wish to ask a question about 4696? Hearing none, is there a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for DEP number 4696?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
If Wendy's got it, all right, all in favor?
Aye. Right.
Okay, that's unanimous, Steve.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next issue, and I understand Jim DeSelle's argument and Brian's argument and Jim Burke's argument that the 46-188 was never built, but something was built pursuant to a negative determination of applicability dated December 21st, 2002. And all I'm asking is that we take a look at it and see what it says.
If I may, once more, jump in here. On 46-188, I would make a motion that, well, I would like you guys to make a motion that, well, I'll get on that board eventually. But no, that a certificate of compliance can be issued based on the fact that this order of conditions was never acted upon. Now, before you discuss that, the negative determination can be discussed as a totally separate from that issue, from a standpoint of it has nothing to do with that document. We want to take a look at the plan and go back and look at that negative determination and make a determination after the fact that the wasn't constructed in accordance with the plan, with Bob Hannigan's plan. You can actually go back and talk to the owner at that point with regards to why isn't compliant with that. All we're asking is for a certificate of compliance on an order of conditions that was never acted upon.
I understand. I'm reading your letter, and it says, the proposed garage at Breezeway, approved by the order 46-188, was not constructed. The existing garage at Breezeway was constructed under an RDA, a negative determination. So I understand your argument, and they may be different documents, but we've got a garage in Breezeway that seems to be the topic of discussion as to whether or not it was built in compliance with what we.
But you still have.
It may have been nothing.
You still have a legal document out there that should be taken off the record of this property because it has no bearing on that particular construction.
That may be true, but it really depends upon what the RDA was, what it was for. It was.
But you just
appears to be the same garage and the same breezeway.
No, but John, they're two separate issues within this. The first issue is the RDA that was never acted on and it lapsed. That's one issue.
No, that's not an RDA. That's
Issue.
I know what the argument is. I get it. All I'm suggesting is we ought to look at, and if we had the file in front of us, we could do that in probably less than a minute.
Issuing a certificate of compliance doesn't negate you guys from taking a look at this project as it complies with that decision.
And what, Jim? Issuing an enforcement order, you have 18 years after the fact?
No, it's only 20.
John, you're asking to look at the second issue, the one that was built in 2002 or 3. That's what you want to see?
Yes.
Okay.
But under a separate permit.
We're looking to just clean up the record. We're not running away from anything. We're just trying to clean up the record.
I understand that and I appreciate it. I think we could vote on this, John, and then the other is a separate issue that we could look into. And you're saying you could do it tomorrow or something, or Kathy?
Yes.
Steve could do it?
Yeah, one of us could do it, yes.
Okay. But it's a separate issue than what's before us right now. They're asking us to vote.
That's the question. Is it a separate issue? It appears to be from the letter, and I quoted it. It's on the record. It
Okay.
appears to be the same garage and the same breezeway. So that it's the same building, the same structure that was both part of the notice of intent and part of the RDA. That's my concern. But I get it. I'm a consensus-driven guy. I am going to look at it, and I'll ask Kathy to look at it. If the commission wants to vote to issue the certificate of compliance, then do so. I'm not making the motion, and I would oppose it until I see the file.
Okay.
But
I'm not opposing what you're saying, John, but one of the issues within this is you can't assume that the garage and breezeway that were built is exactly the same one that had been denied or as not being within our jurisdiction. So yeah, that's what you want to look into?
When you said not within our jurisdiction, I hope you didn't mean that.
No.
We just 30 minutes ago issued an RDA, and you couldn't get any closer to the wetlands.
True.
So John,
I take that back, but that we issued the RDA for, and you're saying it probably had, in fact, some sort of conditions within it, and that's what you want to look at?
Yes. But I have no objection if the consensus is to propose a motion, second it, and vote for it, then that's fine. Go ahead.
I'm just sympathetic
And I
for
will
a
look
man
at-
trying to
I'll
clear
look.
up documents from 1987 or something.
No. Documents from 2003.
Those documents were cleared. The Conservation Committee came back and inspected my property when this addition was done. That's separate and distinct and a separate owner from 1987.
Brian, I was on the commission, and we don't inspect properties.
2003. I think that was Jimmy Green years. Jimmy Green did.
Wasn't Jim Burke?
Wasn't me.
Could have been you, Jim Burke.
At any rate, John, you're saying just to wait one day to look at that file?
And I'm just saying that that's what I would like to do, and that's what I will do. But I'm not trying to influence this. I'm a very consensus-driven person. I listen. And if someone would like to propose the motion and second it and
John.
vote on it, that's perfectly fine.
Well, if you're only holding it up for one day, theoretically, I'm okay with that too.
The problem with that is that we need a vote, and for you guys to vote, it has to be in a advertised hearing. So, like I said,
You can continue it. You don't have to advertise it again. It's already been noticed once.
well, doesn't a public meeting need to be advertised or?
Oh, the public meeting does, sure.
Yeah.
Can we, the effectiveness of this vote shall take place 24 hours from today upon proof of compliance or?
pending confirmation of. Yeah.
Or 48, whatever. I mean, a couple of
Look at
days.
that, John?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
vote
that's-
shall not take effect until tomorrow or the next day, pending review of the conditions on the 12/21/02. That's what you're looking for, correct?
Yes.
So we vote now, but
It's
it does
conditional
not become
upon
effective. It does not become effective for 2 days, and then it can be examined in conditional, effective and conditional.
Yeah, we do that
All the
frequently.
time.
Okay.
That's fine, but it would be conditional upon compliance with it. And but Jim DeSella, Jim Burke, you'd have to say that it's got to come from a PE. That's what we're.
I can make myself available tomorrow to take a look at the site and Bob Hannigan's plan and make that determination.
That's great, Jim. You probably don't have to do that much. All you have to do is look at the RDA.
Right. Well, to me, it's the same thing. Take a look at the RDA, see what the conditions are, take a look at Bob's plan, see how it complies with our plan. I can draft a letter stating if it's, with any sort of discrepancies, list them and ask for certificate of compliance tomorrow. Subject to your review.
Okay.
Tonight.
But
That's
I
good
have a
news.
question. Are we asking for a vote on the negative determination, or are we asking for on the notice of intent that lapsed? That's the problem.
Yeah.
We're asking for the negative determination that lapsed.
No,
I understand. I realize there's a principle that you're talking about. It's the principle, but I think the risk at this point, is there a risk that there's a non-compliance with the RDA?
Okay.
I don't know what's in there.
With the negative determination, not the.
That's what I mean. Is there a risk that it's not in substantial conformance with the?
But what is one have to
that
do
it was
with the
built?
other? That's the
We're
question.
going back 18 years, and I confess, I don't know what it said. That's my only point. I don't know what it said. If it said we issue a negative determination conditional upon the adoption of the plans in 46-188, then yeah.
Okay.
And they would have to be in compliance with that. I don't think it said that. I
know it didn't say it, but that's fine. I get it.
Oh, I understand, John. So you think there's the possibility that there's language connecting 46-188 to the RDA.
Yes, yes. And the reason is it appears from the language in the letter, it appears to be the same garage and breezeway.
Okay.
Okay. I get it. That's fine.
If there's a reference across, that makes sense. So
if there's no reference, then it's over.
Exactly.
Okay.
If
you are correct,
John, if the documentation is provided tomorrow, I'm not opposed to continuing this until tomorrow night for this one vote.
I don't think we need to. That's fine, but I don't think we do that. Because and you can't, because we'd have to post another meeting, Jerry. And I don't think it's necessary, because we do it as a regular course, issue conditional permits, subject to the approval of a landscape plan.
Yeah.
Right.
And Jerry, why don't you put out a motion based on what you said before about contingent on, that we could vote on it tonight, contingent on the review tomorrow?
Yeah, effective 2 days from now, contingent upon
no linkage between the IDA and the NOI.
Right. Right.
Okay.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Yeah, Wendy just seconded that, Steve. All in favor?
And that was Hans and Wendy. Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
And
Okay.
let me repeat that. The vote was, the motion was to vote tonight to be effective 2 days contingent on no linkage between the two documents. The order of conditions and then the negative determination of applicability. Is that correct?
That's correct. For
Thank you.
46-188.
Right.
Correct.
Great. Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks for your patience, Brian. I know it's frustrating.
Thank you.
I'm frustrated.
And was that unanimous, John?
Yes, it was.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Next on the agenda is order conditions 1455 Canton Avenue.
Good evening.
I think this is just, we're kind of confirming the landscape plan, I believe, tonight. That was.
Yeah, a quick, and also an update on what has happened. This is Ned Corcoran. I have not been able, for some reason, to get onto the Zoom, but I am on by telephone. And yesterday, go ahead, I'm sorry.
The plan that was sent out to us is still the plan from November of 2019.
Right.
And I know you sent this one by email the other day, Ned?
I sent a plan yesterday by email that had a red circle drawn around the trees that have been removed in the area of the brook, and a brief memo describing the work that was done by Hunt on April 2. He removed 8 trees, and the plan to remove the swimming pool this late spring and summer, as soon as they're able to do that, and then in early fall to plant the hollies and the high bush blueberries that we went back and forth on through emails, and that ultimately I think was approved by email on March 25.
Well, I don't think it was
You see, though-
approved exactly. I think, John and I discussed it, but I thought we'd have it on a plan submitted to the commission tonight. And there's nothing, on the plan of what where the final plans would be.
They've not submitted a new,
No, there's not a new plan.
There's a plan from March that was revised from low bush blueberries to high bush blueberries. And then there was discussion about, they were too dense, the 17 bushes were too dense, and they were to be relocated in an array along the brook. We did not revise the plan based on that because in the email it was discussed that it wasn't necessary to do so.
and what we've done is gone ahead and removed the trees with the plan that we will finish the plan and submit an as-built this fall when we plant the high bush blueberries and the 10 hollies in accordance with the email.
Okay, well, let's just articulate it then, so we have it clear that of the plants, the high bush blueberries and the boxwood, that in fact, as they're shown on the plan is not correct. They will be half of them. I don't remember the number. I don't have the email in front of me, but they will be planted on the Balster Brook in order to stabilize the banks. And I think
Yes, your email.
Yeah.
The email said that 4 of the hollies and 5 blueberries shall be planted by the brook.
Okay, that
And
sounds
that they would be included on a revised plan or an as-built plan for the file.
I'm fine with that, but I think the commission has to vote on that as well.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
fair enough.
What's the current condition of the bank? What have you done to stabilize it?
All that's happened so far is that on April 2, Hunt removed 8 trees. They did not remove the stumps. They took them down to, essentially ground level, but did not remove the stumps. And the plan was to leave the stumps in place so that it would not destabilize the bank.
And then we said, Hans, in terms of the planting, the location exactly for the plants would be determined on site. It's not something we can put on a plan not knowing exactly where the roots of the trees are and all of that. So
right.
Sort of leave it up to the landscaper, the architect on site.
And that's fine with us. We're happy to make sure that the location of the replacement plantings are in an appropriate location.
That sounds fine to me.
Okay.
I think we're all set on this, aren't we? I mean, we already issued the order of conditions and it was kind of in a phase. But we did issue it some months ago. So I think everything's in order, right?
Yeah, you issued an order of conditions that allowed the removal of the pool. You did not allow the removal of the trees. So we followed up with a request to be able to remove the trees, followed with the development of a plan on what should replace the trees, and the consensus through an email chain with you, particularly you, John, and with Judith was 10 hollies, 17 high bush blueberries, but that 4 of the hollies and 5 of the blueberries be planted by the brook, and that those revisions would be included on either a revised plan or an as-built plan for the file to go forward, and that we would need to do that. What's happened so far is that those trees, the 8 trees have been removed. There's 1 more to be removed. It's in the area of the swimming pool. And that the swimming pool itself will be removed in late spring, early summer, as soon as they're able to get out there and do that. And then the plan is to plant the hollies and the high bushes in the early fall and the next growing season, so they have a chance to be successful, and that we would submit an as-built plan with photographs as to what was done and where they were done. What I'm hearing tonight is that there's a request that we make sure that the location of the plantings, particularly along the brook, be pre-approved or at least approved by the landscape architect before they are in fact installed.
No, that's not my intent, Ned. That's not my
Okay.
intent. I said it would be up to his or her discretion where they were put. I just thought we should
Okay.
we need to vote, and John, maybe we don't, just to say that the landscape plan has been approved based on, again, it's one of those contingencies of giving us the revised plan with the plantings on it.
Correct. That was my understanding. And I thought we had actually split the order of conditions into 2 phases, but Kathy read it to me, and I don't think we did. That was what we anticipated, but it would be followed like phase 2, but I think we signed off on both phases. Because my first understanding, Ned, I talked to you about it, I thought it was split. But when
I agree. I thought it was okay to remove the trees because there was some issues with respect to the trees, and that would come back later with a planting plan that would be subject to be developed with respect to the removal of the swimming pool. But the order of conditions is flipped on that. The order actually says remove the phase 1, remove the swimming pool,
right.
But later approval of the removal of the trees. And so what we did was we requested permission through a series of emails to remove the trees, and asked you to approve the nature of the plantings that would go in. We still have to produce the final plan as to where those plantings would go.
Right, so I think it's a standard order of conditions, conditional upon acceptance of the landscape plan, which is, I think we're developing a consensus as to what's going to be planted and where. So I think the as-built plan submitted after they're planted will be sufficient. And it will go just administratively to Steve, and he'll share it with Judith and Ingrid and Wendy. Unless they're, Norway maples, I'm not going to help. You guys can approve it administratively.
Sure.
I don't know, John, I think maybe Jerry and Hans might like to look at them too. You're being a little sexist here.
No. I was at that meeting a couple of months ago where this came up, and at the site tour.
True. All right, so I think we're all comfortable with, as is, the submission of the landscape plan in an as-built fashion. Is that right?
That's fine.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Great.
All right, we're good. I don't think we need a vote on this.
Okay.
That sounds great. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Ned.
Good.
All right. Take care.
Next on the agenda, modification of order of conditions, 151 Woodland Road. We have the applicant.
Yes, Jack Sullivan.
Hey, Jack, welcome.
And I have Deb Keller with me.
Yep. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Deb. How are you? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Do you need a diagram up that Mike Lynch could help with?
That would be great. There should be a current plan that was submitted. We did submit it back early March. I resubmitted it again this morning, so hopefully we have it.
Is it 11A or B?
That has an accompanying plant list also.
Yes.
Yeah, I looked at the plant list, Deb, and I thought it was just fine. Just what we were hoping for.
Okay.
In terms of they're all native. The balsam fir, I'd say good luck with. It's a wonderful tree, but as the winters are getting warmer, it likes a kind of cold. But give it a try. It has kind of survived in some areas of town, so it would be worthwhile trying it.
Okay, that's great. So that list did come from the landscape architect.
Okay.
And so I believe what happened was the landscape architect added some landscaping between the two driveways, and took a few liberties in the backyard. And what we've since done was adjust the landscape plan to show the minor reconfiguration tweaks that they had to the driveway turnaround area, and the landscaping between the two driveways and around what I would see the plan top side of the house. You can see some of the evergreens there and a deciduous tree in that location. There is a 7-foot by 7-foot proposed shed directly behind the garage that they're looking to propose. And then we reduced from what the landscaper would have liked to have done to what I've done on this plan is reduce the patio area back to what was originally proposed. What we have added is a retaining wall along the southern end, which is the closer side to the wetland, with a fireplace in it. And the wall is, I think, approximately 3.5 feet, just under 3.5 feet high. This allows it to be also sort of a sitting wall for the length of the patio, and then it just tapers off. I think where there was a question was the landscaper had taken a little bit of a liberty and extended that wall another 20, 25 feet out to the backyard, which we have since pulled back to match the current approved plan. Trying to think. Yeah, and what they did add a little bit of detail was to put a border around the driveway, like a brick border, just for more for ornamentation than anything. But the driveway itself really hasn't changed.
I just make Jack Sullivan a couple of comments. The landscape architect actually had about a 55-foot wall there, and it was 6 feet high at the high point. And we've reduced it to about a 25-foot wall with a high point under 4 feet. The grading is all very similar. The patio itself is a couple of feet each direction. It is larger than what was originally submitted, but it still fits well with the site.
Can I ask you about lighting? We've become more aware of the importance of not having light shining out into wetlands, you know, for the amphibians, fireflies, we're trying to protect that and, you know, have the night be dark as it should be. And I see within the planting bed, you have path lights. Are they pointing downward facing lights?
It hasn't actually been designed. This is really more schematic.
Okay.
What would you like to see there?
Downward facing in all of the lighting, and actually to have it on the plan, if you're going to be adding more outdoor lights, you know, we'd have to look at that. It's becoming an issue as, you know, the light pollution is becoming more of an issue.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, when we get the plan more detailed, if the lighting changes, we'll resubmit it.
Yeah, is that shed that's now back in there, was that one that was there before and then removed?
Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 7-foot by 7-foot shed is a new shed? That's a proposed shed behind the garage?
Does it have a foundation?
Probably, I imagine they're going to just buy one and put it in there.
So it would be a typical shed that you'd get at a Home Depot or a Lowe's. So it would have your, you could put put it on brick, you know, the
Concrete
concrete
blocks.
blocks. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't have the details on that, but we could certainly talk to the buyers. And this is a custom house, so they have a fair amount of say in what they're looking for. This isn't a spec house, but so the plan shows a 10 by 10, but it's designated as a 7 by 7. And we don't really, I mean, you know, either size would probably be enough.
Well, to the extent that this is a formal plan, we should know accurately what it is and whether or not there is a foundation or there's not a foundation, and whether or not it's 10 by 10 or 7 by 7. I mean, those.
Well, there's no foundation, and 10 by 10 would be sufficient. So we can agree to no foundation. If I can't talk them out of it, I think that they're just going to buy an existing shed. It's not in my contract to build that. I just put it in the plan to designate that was their interest.
Wait, what's the date on your most recent, the plan that's up on the screen right now? What's the date on that?
I should say the latest revision is March 4th, 2020.
And what was the revision before that?
Was July 30th of 2019, where this is when we had a better and like Jack was saying, it's a custom house. So we had the final house footprint. And so we had to relocate the house to fit within the lot. So it was a house configuration change that we did back in July.
So if you go on that one, I'm having a hard time. See, you don't have to move the screen because I'm just trying to look at the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still like a centerpiece to the driveway. And when I say a centerpiece, like a dividing grassed-in area with trees or bushes.
Yes.
Separation.
Yeah. And that's required. The goal is to maintain a 6-foot island between the two driveways. I believe that's dimensioned right at the driveway entrance.
Okay.
That's pretty much the same location that was on the original plan. It just widened somewhat because each of the two parties wanted to have a separate driveway as much as possible. But it's still in the same location.
All right, because I've got an old plan in front of me, and I'm looking at a June 21 of 2019 plan. I'm trying to figure out what the changes are. And what I was particularly interested in was the length of the retaining wall, because I think the last time you were in, which was, I don't know, December, January, I don't know, November, December, January. I thought that was not an issue, but it was a question as to why it was so long. And I thought it was 5 feet at one end. And it was a lot lengthier than had previously been depicted. So I'm just trying to find out how many revisions there are.
What was longer?
That retaining wall. And then I think Deb just said that was shortened. I may be referring to a landscape plan.
The landscape plan was significantly larger than that one. I think that's the last plan you saw. And then there were some objections to it. And so I brought Deb in to redo her plan rather than working from the landscape architect's plan. Because this is.
So the revisions to this plan, I took the landscape plan that Jack is speaking of now and pulled in their landscaping, made the modifications to the patio area, but minimized the impact of that retaining wall, cutting it back, matching the grades that were previously approved closer within that area, but still trying to keep that one feature of the retaining wall along the patio because they do want to have a fireplace built into it.
All right. And what about the current status of the building? What's going on there right now? And I want to ask you specific questions about erosion controls and what you've got going to protect the close by wetlands.
Well, it was all set up initially when we began. We're inside the house. It's all plastered, and we'll start the interior finishes in probably the next week or two.
And you do have the erosion control is up, correct, Jack? And that
It's
was
still, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, however, I will say that it's, in some places, it's down. So it needs to be re-staked and repositioned, in my opinion.
Well, the stakes haven't moved, but some of the silt fences come down, and
That's correct.
We can address that.
Okay. And there are a lot of materials very, very close to the erosion controls. In fact, in one area, just, let's see, that would be just west of the house, there is some material, soil material, erosion sediments that have gone down the slope toward and they're right next to the wattles, which is right next to the silt fence. So you need to take a look at that area as well. It's behind the house on the, I think that's the southwest corner of the house, Jack.
Okay, well, yes, we'll take a look at that, and we'll get that all straightened out.
Thank you.
Okay, so can you?
There was one, I just had one more issue to bring up. There's an area behind the house, just behind that 192 grade, in the middle of the house, just off the deck. And there's an area that's almost like a meadow. It's got a lot of dead and dying and a real mix of different sized trees and broken trees. They would like to thin that out and clean it up. And I was wondering if we could meet out there with the agent and talk to him about it.
Sure, we need a survey, a tree survey as to, what when you say thin out, some people have different definitions.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's why I'd like to meet with Steve first, so that we're.
Let's put it on a plan, Jack. Let's put it all on the plan, and then we'll take and go out there, and then we'll look at trees. How's that?
Well, I mean, I don't want to create a plan that no one's going to. I'd like some indication from the board about what's acceptable in general, and then we'll come back specifically with a plan, rather than come in with a plan that isn't going to make anybody happy. I don't think that's very productive. So I propose that we meet out there, we talk about it, and then we'd be happy to bring in a detailed plan with the trees on it.
Well, if we were to do it that way, can you put tape around the trees you want to eliminate?
Sure.
So it's not conceptual. It's really we could take a look at it and see realistically how big are the trees, what kind of trees they are.
Sure.
That makes a difference.
Yep. That's
happy to do it.
And obviously, the closer you are to the resource area, the more sensitive we get to the removals.
Yeah, we're actually moving away from it, and the trees that are the closest to it, we're going to be leaving. So we're sensitive to that.
Okay, you said that's to the, if you're looking at the plan right now, to the right of the elevation 192 line, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, understood.
So Jack, you're talking about the area where you see the note that says proposed permeable stone paver patio area,
Yes,
general?
in
Okay,
general. I don't think it's in that deep, but that's the general area.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Is that doable, Steve, if we do it that way, that as long as they designate the trees that they want to remove, and then we can, and I don't mean to have Steve do it, I don't want Steve measuring, but if we had a sense of what the caliper is and
Sure.
the,
Yeah, I have a D tape, but that's not a problem to measure. I can verify measurements. How's that?
okay, all right, that'd be good.
Sure.
So is Steve going to do it, or are we doing a site walk?
I think it would be a site walk so that, Steve, you could concur on the trees that Jack is likely or would like to remove. We can, they can tape them, and then we can come back out and, measure the size, get the species, and locate them on the plan.
Sure. Deb, I think Judith was asking about a site walk for the commission.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not a problem. Yeah.
What do you think, John? I mean, there's enough changes being discussed anyway that maybe we should look at it again.
Yeah, I think so. Just time-wise, how fast I think it makes sense for the tree survey to be done first, with the assistance of Steve, and then we could go out and take a look at it, so it's all set. We know what we're looking at, and we know the size of the trees. So maybe, can we do it in 2 stages, as Steve and Jack get out there, or Jack tape the trees, and then Steve can verify the species and the size, and then the next step would be for us to go out and take a look at it.
Sure, that works.
Understood.
6 feet distance.
One other thing that the original plan that you saw that my brother did a number of years ago now, I guess, that plan, the building department, because of the way the town measures the height of the buildings, require that we keep moving the building down. And of course, the only place that we could meet the town's requirement was to put the building on the highest spot, which happened to be where all the ledge was. So when you go out there, you'll see there's an awful lot of material in the front yard. Hopefully in the next 30 days or so, we want to get rid of all of that now that the winter's over.
Yeah, be careful about the silt fence and the erosion control.
We will. We'll take care of that.
Very close. Very close.
We'll take care of that first.
Yeah.
It's only in a couple of spots, but I know the areas you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so Jack, it goes back to you. How much time do you need before you can, designate the trees you want out? And then second question goes to Steve. How long will it take you? And then the commission can figure out when we can go out and take a look.
Maybe meet with Steve the middle of next week, sometime early next week.
That'd be fine.
Maybe we could talk and pin down a date.
Sure.
The next Saturday after this one is the 25th of April, and then it's the 2nd of May.
So a week from this Saturday? That's,
It's the 25th.
Yeah, we should be ready for that.
Can everybody do the 25th? And if not, can everybody do the 2nd of May? I can do the 25th. Judith, can you do the 25th?
I can, yes.
I can do the 25th as well.
Ingrid, okay.
I
can.
I have no idea. I don't even know if we'll be allowed out of our house. No, I should be fine.
All right.
Yes, can
Carrie?
do 25.
What time do you typically do these?
That's
8:30.
9 o'clock.
10 o'clock? What time?
We've shifted from 8 to 8:30. How about 8:30? Can we do that?
What did you say, John?
8:30? Is that okay?
Yeah, okay, yeah. And we should wear masks, of course.
Of course.
Okay. What day did we decide?
4/25.
Great.
And Jack and I will be out middle of next week before that. Jack, how about the 22nd?
So that's
That's
what,
Wednesday.
Thursday, Wednesday? Yeah, that should be fine.
How about 10 o'clock in the morning? How's that?
Great.
Sure, got it.
So Wednesday, the 23rd?
22nd.
22nd, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So we meet at 151 Woodland, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. So with the assent of the applicant, we will continue this until the 25th of April. All right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is order of conditions, Lot 2, Woodlot Drive. And the next one, just 12 and 13 is 175 Governor Stoughton Lane, that's Woodlot Estate. Continued hearing. For both of those, I will recuse myself. I'm not sure how to come back in. I can get back in and check, but I prefer, can somebody call me on the cell phone? Anybody do that?
Yeah, I'll call you, John. I have your number.
Okay, all right, good, thanks.
I can, hello? I can just put you in the waiting room. Takes you out of the meet, and then I'll let you back in when it's ready, if you want.
That's true, and you can do that, and then I can just come in and check periodically. All right, Michael?
Okay, it's up to just.
All right, thanks. Jerry, if you can still hear me, you better call me.
Yeah, I'll call you.
Okay, I think we have two issues here. The one on Lot 2. The wall, the stone wall that was built into the wetlands, and we had talked about it the last meeting and in February, and we were
buffer.
The buffer, I'm sorry, buffer. And I think there was consensus on a fine of some sort, but a little disagreement and unsure how much of a fine.
And also there wasn't, when I was out there with you, there wasn't a quorum either, Judith. Okay.
That's right too. But we discussed it subsequently. I think when you were away, Steve.
Okay.
We also discussed it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So it has been, yeah. And I'd like to actually tie it in with this, the lighting, which is so problematic, but I think we've come to a solution. Steve, do you think we have to take these separately, or do you think we can tie the two together?
I think we can tie them together without any problem. We can talk about them together, certainly.
Okay. So in all of the requirements, and actually for the town, I found out it's downward facing lighting is required. So the acorn looking thing that's there now, in some areas they adjust it. And I think we said there was a consensus that it wasn't working to adjust it. It's wrong anyway, you know, ipso facto, it's wrong. Also, because it's there on Unquity, there aren't supposed to be any lights within the Blue Hills Reservation. You know, the roads don't have any lights on it. So this is like an exception that's being made. So it's even more important to make sure it's done properly. So we had looked at all those photographs of lights, and I sent you the email chain of talking to Chase Berkeley and Jack Calabro, who's the electrician who okays all of the lights. And they were extremely helpful. There's two types of lighting in town. I wonder if I could put this up to, I think I can.
Yes, we can see that. Yes, very
Oh,
well.
fine. Okay, so
Yep,
this is
that's
the
great.
one down at Hendry's, and you've seen a copy of this as well, I think. Everyone's seen it. And so this is one that the town has okayed and could replace the existing lights that are there. So it's downward facing. So this looks like it would fulfill our requirements. Hans, unless you think there's anything, I'm not sure in terms of the height, if we have to talk about that, but at any rate, this style that keeps the light downward. you also see this light, right at Central Ave. It's,
Right,
right there. So it's very common, and the town is fine with that as a choice.
right. There's
It's
quite a
one-
few of them right there at that intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they provide great light just where you're walking, not other places. And the other type of light that the town electrician said is this one that is on Unquity already at the intersection of Canton, where Blue Hill Parkway, enters and goes into Unquity. So we have two that we could say to Pulte, either one, as far as I'm concerned, it depends on what you guys think. Either one of these would be acceptable. They're downward facing. The town has okayed them. They could replace the existing lights that are there.
Looks good
So
to
I
me.
think, so I think we could tie in a small fine for that wall that was built with the condition that they replace the lights as well to these correct dark sky lights.
Right, that's a full-on removal of the old fixture and device. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And we know it's possible because the town, Jack said that this fixture would go on that existing base, and, he had the technical, how they have to
Details.
do it. Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
great, okay.
And so just to clarify, the fine for the wall, the potential fine for the wall, wouldn't be against the current homeowner. It would be against the applicant, the overall applicant of the subdivision, Pulte.
Yes, because he allowed it.
Okay.
Isn't that so,
Yeah.
Steve?
I just wanted to
Yes.
confirm that, so that's fine.
He's
So-
the applicant.
Yep.
He oversaw it. He was responsible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the wall stays, is that correct?
Yes, I think we do. Well, that's my opinion. I think we do.
I would
more-
agree.
So with, in a sense, we're making an amendment to the original plans. They're getting fined, but we're approving the wall.
Yeah, okay. Yes,
Okay.
we will allow the wall to stand.
Why are we not fining for there's two lights on that road, is that correct?
No, I think more on the plan that will be going up. I didn't count them, but they're regular street lights that go up
Right.
Woodlodge. And they all need to be
Yeah.
down with.
Okay, I remember at least two.
There are two that are currently installed.
Yeah, and then I also remember, so they're gonna be installing additional. But
Oh,
that's,
yes, all the way up the road to the cul-de-sac.
okay. So, but I do remember a representation, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they said that they talked to somebody else in the town and that those were the ones, the existing ones were in fact approved, but
That was a mistake. That was
Yeah.
a mistake all along the chain.
Okay,
It was a
so
mistake.
why are we not finding them? Why aren't we taking these issues separately? Why aren't we fining for the wall and fining for the lights?
I don't think there's any need to.
We'd have to find the town for the lights, I think, because that's where the mistake was made.
Well, wait, wait, a
No.
minute. So there was in fact a representation made to them? Who's putting the lights in? The contractor, correct?
Yes,
And
Yeah,
they-
but the town
they
approved the design.
exactly.
did approve these. Okay. So,
There was a
I'm just-
mistake.
A mistake. I think that was all. It was a
Very
mistake.
simple.
I don't think,
Didn't catch it.
we didn't catch it early enough either. I think there's a little bit of negligence, all along. We just didn't see it. They approved it, and then subsequently, I know I got calls from several people saying, "What's with the light on?"
well, they're gonna change them anyway, correct?
Well, if we require it, they will have an impetus. They're gonna do it anyway. They seem quite amenable to it.
Well, it's unclear to me. They have to change the lights, correct?
If we say so, yes. If
Well,
we
doesn't-
say so, they
doesn't
have
the
to
town-
change them.
Can't the town rescind their permission granted the last time and say, look, they're wrong, they need to be done? X,
No,
Y,
because the town okayed them.
Right.
So in
So
this,
we need to tonight, I'm sorry, Hans.
in this way, we're conditioning them by issuing the violation in order for them to get the violation lifted, they'd have to demonstrate to us that the lights have been replaced with an appropriate.
Okay, but without a fine.
No, I'm saying we fine them just, nominally $1,000. I know it's not much, but we should, have something there. I mean, unless you want to do more.
Well, no, my question is this. There's going to be a fine for the wall and there's going to be a fine for the lights, correct?
No, there will not
No.
be a fine for the lights because we okayed them. The town okayed
The
them.
town
The
okayed
planning
them.
board did without going, oh, wait a minute, these are the wrong lights.
All right. So,
Like I say, there's a new awareness now.
and they're gonna, we're gonna give them a break on the wall because we're nudging them to do the lights?
Yeah, I
We-
guess you could say that. I guess you could say that. The lights are really the significant thing because there's not only one vernal pool now, there's the second one.
Well, the wall is significant also, but I agree with you about
Okay.
the
Okay.
But Mike, has there been, what is the contractor? What are they inclined to do?
Let me tell you, the wall, they had come to us back before the first of the year for the wall itself. They wanted to put the wall in. And what happened was the contractor put it in without going through the process. The engineer was going through the process, Mike Rosati, you remember Mike? He was going through the process, and unbeknownst to the engineer, the contractor put the wall in because it was easier to do on a particular day because they had the equipment right there on site. So they jumped the gun unbeknownst to the engineer. That's really the reason for the fine. We don't have any problem with the wall itself. The wall is fine.
Well,
With regard to the lights, Jerry, it was the town that made the mistake. So I don't see a fine for the lights, frankly.
But that said, the lights are going to be changed anyway because are they adding additional lights along the road that are going to be consistent with these downward facing lights?
On the plan,
Do you think the builder is going to let 2 lights that are not going to look like all the other ones?
no.
All the lights are going to be downward facing.
Yeah, yeah. So why are we connecting them? Why don't we just fine them for the wall?
Because they need a reason to change the lights. They need to get something from us saying, you now have to change those lights. They're a mistake. And it's not a problem at all. The important thing is to get them done. They're willing to do it.
All right.
Can we
Yeah, we
back up
need
a second? Can we back up a second? Steve, I thought that wall was too close to the vernal pool. The second vernal pool. When we went out there and looked at it, remember there was a little bit of snow on the ground and ice.
No, the wall goes right up to the extent of the excavation, actually. They excavated, and then there's a higher elevation. The vernal pool is actually higher than the house.
Yeah, I remember that.
The house is lawn there.
Yeah.
So the vernal pool is sitting sort of higher up, and the wall is down, and all the wall does is separate the two properties from one another.
Okay,
But-
so I misremembered it, I think.
Yeah, the one on the right-hand side, their lawn happens to be 3 feet higher than the one on the right-hand side. I'm
All
sorry,
right.
the left-hand side.
Okay.
The left-hand side to the west is lower, the lawn area is lower than the one to the east. That's all.
I understand. I also thought it went too far back, but okay, I understand.
Sure. Mhm.
Wendy, did you have an opinion, Wendy?
Excuse me. Well, I just think we need to be careful about saying that the inconsistency of the lights that were put in is the fault of the town.
Oh, we won't say that, of course. You never admit.
Never admit.
Well, but I thought I just heard you say that, Steve.
Well, that's among us. That's among us chickens.
Wendy, the main issue is from now on, when we okay lights and we okay the placement of these lights, we need to make sure they're downward facing lights. So
Yeah.
in our order of conditions,
Mhm.
you know, we have the placement of lights, okay, but we did not specify downward facing.
Well, the other issue, Judith, is that it is on DCR land that's part of the Blue Hill Reservation, and that is clearly verboten altogether.
Absolutely.
And an exception was made.
Yes, yes.
By
So-
the DCR folks themselves.
Right. In other words, there should be a light there in the first place.
Well, we okayed it, the planning board
Right.
okayed it.
Because of that intersection, right.
Yes.
Well, then maybe there should be language that condition upon DCR approval.
No, we don't need to go back there, Jerry.
Well, they can't.
No.
Well, they can't go
No.
ahead well, they can't go ahead. We want to make it clear and unambiguous. You want to put those lights there, they have to be legal. And we can't stand in the state's position. We can't grant them permission to do anything if it's a state issue.
It's not a state issue. We're replacing the bulbs at the top of a light pole that already was okayed by the state, by the town. It's just the type of lighting at the top. Jerry, if we start going up there,
No,
we
I'm
won't
sorry,
get this
I
done for 6
misunderstood.
months.
Okay, all right. All right, now how are we gonna set the fine? What's our guideline? Was that fence, was that finally fined on Canton Ave? The vinyl fence that was put in?
Yes, that fine was sustained upon appeal. It was sustained, the $1,000 upon appeal, and it was paid
Okay,
begrudgingly, but it was paid.
well,
So Steve, where do we stand? Steve,
Anybody
where
else
do we?
to judge if the retaining wall was as much a problem as the fence was. The fence was minimal. It was one portion of that fence.
Yeah, and the retaining wall is not a big problem. It was just that they sequenced it out of sequence,
Okay, all right.
in my opinion.
Are we talking another $1,000 to be consistent?
Yeah, I would think
that-
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Yeah, I agree. as
So
well.
it's a $1,000 fine in replacing the lights with the downward facing town approved lights.
Yes.
And Steve, I forget, where do we stand procedurally? There's an enforcement order in effect? What do we have currently?
Did we do an enforcement order on the?
That's what I can't remember. It's been a couple of months.
I'm sorry, I cannot remember either. And I would have to get back to you on it.
Okay,
Okay. But we can certainly, you can certainly vote to institute the fine and the light replacement as a condition, which would include the fine and the replacement. Right?
okay. Of an enforcement order that either exists or we're issuing. See, I thought Kathy Bowen had,
I think there's an enforcement order out.
yeah, I thought so too. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So then we need a vote saying, well, once you find out if there is an enforcement order in place,
Right.
to lift the enforcement order and have them in compliance, we are going to impose $1,000. Well, someone else has to make this motion, but I'm saying, basically, I think there's an agreement, $1,000 fine plus replacement of the lights with the downward facing dark sky lights.
Approved, as approved by the commission.
Yes.
I second.
Okay, was that Jerry and then Wendy?
I think that was,
Or Hans and then Wendy?
yeah, I'll take the motion for that one,
Okay, thank you.
unless Jerry wants it.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I think it's a lesson learned for all of us, that every time we see a plan in front of us saying, what's the lighting going to be, so we don't come upon it after the fact and go, oh,
All right,
That's-
so I can call John and tell him to come in now.
yes.
You must take a vote first.
Actually, yeah, well, before we call John back, I did take a look at the other vernal pool.
Yes.
I saw the green goo that's indicative of remnants of egg masses, but I didn't actually observe any egg masses. Didn't hear any calling. It was a little while after, but I didn't observe any juveniles in there, and I walked through the area pretty thoroughly.
Now, which area is this? Is this south or north of the
This
road?
is by the sediment basin that is looks like it's filled with chocolate milk.
That would be south of the road.
South of the road.
On April 1st, I found 4 egg masses of wood frog.
So
We
you
need
did?
5. We need
Okay.
5. Okay.
All right.
So I've been looking at that one for, I don't know, three years now and haven't come up with the 5 yet, but we'll get to it.
Okay.
However, further north of the vernal pool that I certified last year, there's another pool area, and I was able to find, I don't know, 9 or 11 egg masses there.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's another location.
Okay,
north.
let's do this in order. So first we need to vote on Hans's motion, seconded by Wendy. So
Yes.
all in favor of this? Very good. Okay, unanimous.
Mhm.
And where is this
The
vernal
second
pool?
pool,
Is it on the Pulte property or is it, do you know where it is?
the second vernal pool is due north of the one that I certified last year.
Yeah.
And I think there's a house built there. There's a basin. And there's a basin at the bottom of a big slope. It's the 4th house on the left-hand side as you go up the hill.
Huh.
4th house. There's 3 first, and then there's the conservation area. Then there's another house. So you go back, and you can walk the embankment of the basin back to an area that I was just there today with the Pulte and Green Company people. There's an area of gray sediment at the bottom of the slope in the conservation area that they will take out. And then there's some flags further off. It's actually, that pool is about 100 feet south of the northern boundary of that site, right there.
Oh, okay.
Where that pool is. And that's 2 years in a row that I found stuff there. I didn't certify it last year. I wanted to see if it was an active pool this year. And it is. So it's really nice.
Great. So there's 2. Okay, wonderful.
Two north, and all I need now is a picture of
One
the
more
area,
egg.
of the area that's dry, just for certification. Okay. But that southern pool is really a bugaboo. That's all.
You should have taken one of the eggs from the other. No.
I know. That's sorry, I'm a scientist. I have to do things the right way.
Right.
Okay,
Okay,
so-
you can tell John to come in. Thank you, everybody.
Sure, thanks.
Thank you, Judith.
Thank you. So funny to come back in online.
Indeed.
Yeah. Brandy, I was hoping you'd put your cat on screen so everyone could see them. She has the most amazing cats you've ever seen. They're like no other cats.
Got across you earlier.
Yeah, he was making a little cameo appearance.
Oh, they're so amazing.
There were a lot of other people in the meeting, so I got him off screen as fast as I could.
Sure. Do they purr on screen as well?
Oh, they're very loud purrs. Yes. Yes.
That's great. That's
They're
really
very
great.
sweet.
Okay, John, we're all set.
Well, we can't hear you, John, if you can hear us.
He's on mute.
Yes, John, unmute. There's a little button.
There he is.
There we go.
And back?
Yes.
All right, thanks. And so you finished with everything? What's left? Just additional business?
Yes.
Yes, but what about that? We got an email today about the storm yesterday, and the transformer or something came down with wires on Clifton Road.
Oh, yeah. I'd have to recuse myself from that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have to respond to that, Hans?
Good night, Hans.
No,
What's
no,
that?
Hans is going to
Yeah.
stick around. He's going to say a few words on additional business.
Who is?
Hans.
Yeah, so before we, let's save that Eversource for last. So the first thing I wanted to bring up under, it sounds like that somebody took a look at the Hunt landscaping area. I didn't get a chance to take a close look at it, but I thought that depression might have had, where they were actually putting the material might have been wet, but I didn't get a close look at it.
Yeah, I didn't think so. It doesn't look wet to me.
Okay. I was just walking through.
Sure, sure.
Secondly, I don't know if anyone else has been following the Facebook posts, but there's a Good Samaritan that's been improving some of the trails around Pope's Pond.
Yeah.
The individual that's doing it apparently wants to remain anonymous for whatever reason, but I've taken a very close look at the improvements that were done. Basically, they've created a floating bridge over the areas that are very muddy through the pond to make it more accessible. It's clearly being done by somebody that's volunteering their time and effort. And so I had heard some grumblings from people about, doing that without a permit or something like that, and yes, technically probably should have obtained approval, but what that person did, I think, has had a very positive effect on the accessibility of the trails, and the manner in which it's installed, I think is good, and it doesn't, the trail, the elevated pieces, it doesn't have any kind of footings or anything. It's just staked into the ground. So, I just wanted to kind of bring it up as whether or not, we can give a sort of okay that this person is doing it, provided that, in the future, we highly recommend them getting approval first.
I'd love to go see it.
I'd
Yeah.
like to, but we may not, is my opinion.
We may not what?
Grant approval for something like, or ignore it for that matter. But I'll yield to your.
No, I'm not-
Do you know if it's the same group that came before? Is it people from the Friends organization that came before us?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think it's a single individual that has very good intentions.
Yeah, because the folks that came from the Friends group were very, very cognizant of our role and very concerned with doing the right thing and getting approvals and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And my opinion is, Hans, if it's done well, it's actually probably assisting in decreasing damage to the
Yes.
soil.
Yes, very much so, because a lot of people ride bikes through there.
Yeah, there are a couple of areas that are really beat up.
Yeah. And so this is an elevated path. It's basically made out of pallets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's.
I agree. I think I agree with Jerry. I don't think we can approve it.
No,
We can
and that's
support it, but we can't approve it.
yeah, no, and I don't think I wouldn't be asking to approve it. I just not sure exactly what I'm asking, but just the fact that it's occurred, that we're aware of it.
And it sounds like it's well done as well.
Yes, but
Yeah, but I'm a little
at the same time, in the future, if anyone should want to do something like that, we should
would be
make it
bad
clear that they should
precedent.
seek approval.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm concerned about too, is that somebody might come along and say, hey, we really need to redo that bridge, and they might just come and build a new bridge and do it under the cover of night and do it.
That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure. I'd love to see it and then get back to you folks, you all.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah, that's good. Hans, can you reach out to the people that, the Friends of Pope's Pond and find out what their take is on it? And
Sure.
find out if we could kind of bring this person into the fold.
Yeah.
The right way would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe even an after the fact notice or something like that. To try to get the record straight on it and bring it back into compliance.
Mm-hmm. So right now, we're taking it under advisement.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And Hans, you'll be the diplomatic outreach, and
I guess, yes.
And Steve, you're going to be the reconnaissance. You're going to take
technical advice. How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
Hans, do you have an idea who this anonymous person is, or are you just going to reach out through Milton neighbors?
I think somebody that I walk my dog with knows who it is. So.
Cool.
Okay.
Have your dog talk to his dog.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to. I'll
have
use my connections to try to get the person out of the woodwork.
Yeah, and I have an idea of who it might be as well.
Oh, okay.
So.
The clock ticking.
Yes, right.
In fact, on that same note, if I could just let you all know that we did get something from our forester with regard to management of Pope's Pond and Turner's Pond. That came in evidently yesterday afternoon, but I literally just got my power back, so I haven't even seen it yet. But I saw that I had some emails from him, so I'll be distributing that soon.
Oh, great. Good.
Okay.
Is that the one we paid like $4,500 for?
Yes, something on that order, right?
Okay.
Yep. So I haven't seen it yet. Haven't downloaded anything. I literally got my power back, came down, and got on this. Literally.
Okay. So if you guys want to go ahead and start bashing Eversource, I'll jump off the call.
There's one other issue for additional business, and that's 531 Elliott. And evidently, there were 4 commissioners, myself, a couple other people, and there must have been 5 different conversations going on all at the same time. So it would be nice to hear from other folks. Evidently, I was wrong in what I put down in my notes for the fine of $6,000. It was somebody told me it was more like $3,000 and some number of trees. Does anybody remember that? Is my question.
Don't.
I agree with whatever the first email, I thought you wrote it, Steve, and I said, I agree with you. It was a $3,000 fine.
Okay.
But the number of trees you had, I thought was correct.
Okay. It was like 6 trees or something. I will look back. Okay.
Yeah,
so 6 sounds awfully high for us.
Yeah, it does. It does.
6 trees?
No, $1,000.
Yeah, $1,000. I thought it was 3,000.
Okay, yeah.
But
I think Arthur thought it was 3,000 as well.
Yeah, maybe that was it. I think I was agreeing with whatever Arthur's memory was. I know that whoever wrote the first email, I ended up agreeing with them, and I think it was Arthur.
I think it was Arthur. Arthur was responding to me, I think.
All right,
so that's fine. Thank you.
All right,
that's helpful.
I thought that he had killed 3 trees by burying them, basically.
Yes.
And then he had removed another one. So I thought there were like 4 trees, which I know would come out to be 12. But we made a deal, I thought, that some of them would be bushes.
Right.
Shrubs.
Right.
So I thought it was a split rather than having 12 trees. It was, 6 trees and however many bushes. I know that that's been controversial as to how many shrubs per tree.
Right. I'll go back and look at Arthur's. Okay.
All right. His memory was the same as my memory.
Thank you. That's great. And now we can bash Eversource, I guess, right?
Okay. Everybody, have a great evening.
Thanks, Hans. We'll see you on the 25th.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
No, Hans, wait, because I have a couple of other things that are quick.
Oh, okay.
One of them, and I thought it was National Grid as opposed to Eversource. But I was, you know, the transformer station by Fontbonne? There was an exploding.
That's
transformer.
Eversource.
That's Eversource?
Yeah, that's ours.
Okay, you've got 3 boom trucks that are parked right next to the wetlands. You could sit in the cab and you could, if you were inclined to spit, you could spit into the wetlands. They're so close.
I'll talk to somebody.
And there's a pickup truck, but the 3 boom trucks have all the hydraulic equipment. They could not get any closer to the wetlands.
Yeah, it's probably storm response. And so, but I'll see what I can do to talk to them.
Okay, that would be great.
Thanks, Hon.
And,
No
and
problem.
the other thing, if you could look into your March packet, which I just happened to have kept mine together in one piece. That's the meeting that we didn't have.
Yeah.
But if you look in that, there is a plan of land at 138 Bradley. I'd ask you to take a look at it. And look at, there's red ink there. You have to really study it to look at it. But look at the 2 designations. One is the DEP number that lapsed, and the other one was the RDA.
Yeah.
And if you have it, tell me what you think.
Yeah, so the negative determination is built further into the buffer.
Yes.
The one they got a negative determination for is into the buffer, but they received the negative determination.
But you see what the one that was approved on an order of conditions?
Yeah.
It just barely nicked the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with the plan, because if you look at the wood deck at the front, why in the world was that part of the earlier DEP number? It's the 4696 number. It's the wood deck.
Yeah, I don't know.
That looks like it's way outside of the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No. No. But so I think it's worthwhile closing the loop on it. The interesting thing that, and this is something that I've dealt with in the past, is if there wasn't an order of conditions under, when we issue an RDA with conditions, is there a condition in there to close out that approval?
Good question.
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know if an RDA would trigger a certificate of compliance.
There isn't.
Probably wouldn't.
There is none. So.
But it would allow an enforcement order.
Okay. And so had they not had this previous NOI, this would have never even come up. Correct?
Well, unless somebody looked at it, unless somebody inspected it, you're correct.
Yeah. So I just.
But that, if you see the map, go back and take a look at the plot.
I see it.
It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So Steve, I don't know if you can see it, but I'll call Kathy tomorrow and see if she can get into that file.
Sure.
See what the RDA actually says.
Sure, and I'll look at the plan as well.
All right, and Steve, I'd be interested in your thoughts when you look at the plan.
Sure,
right.
Absolutely.
All right, good. Any other new items, old items? We ready to adjourn?
Oh, just
Nope.
just the spill if you guys don't want to talk about it. So
say that again.
Just the spill if you guys still want to talk about that. So.
Oh yeah, that's an emergency cleanup. So I think we're gonna sit in the bleachers for a couple of days and find out what Clean Harbors did. And we're gonna get a report back, I think, momentarily. I didn't mean literally momentarily, but within days.
We're talking about the Eversource, the wire coming down? Is that what you're talking about?
Transformer coming down, yeah.
Excuse me?
The
The transformer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
So
if you want to step off, Hans, that's fine. But I don't think we're going to make any decisions tonight.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to make note though, but
Wendy?
when
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I went for a walk today in Milton Cemetery, and I saw a Clean Harbors truck down by the pond. Don't know why. Don't know what they were doing. They were just sitting in there.
Fishing.
Anybody know? Fishing? Yeah. Picnic.
That's really
lunchtime.
I don't know.
Maybe. Well, I mean, it was 3:30.
No, I just wanted to say that the transformer coming down on Clifton, they showed the pipes going under the street that were impacted, but there's also a little pool that's behind Clifton Road at the lowest point. It's behind some houses. And I wanted to make sure that that was looked at as well, because they didn't seem to imply it's just behind the houses at the lowest point on Clifton Road.
Judith,
So I think
on which side are you talking
as
about?
you're coming down Clifton Road to meet Reedsdale, it's on the right-hand side.
Before you get to Wildwood?
Just before you get to Wildwood. Yes, maybe 2 houses up. There's a little wet area that sometimes is like a pond. It has phragmites in it. But it
I'm
is.
going to recuse myself now.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good night, Hans.
Bye.
Stay well.
So I think that should be looked at too, because I didn't see Eversource addressing that at all. And it would certainly be within just 100 feet or so, maybe 200.
Yeah, Steve, are you going to be around tomorrow?
I'm sorry?
Are you around the town?
I can be, yes. I can be. So can you see that from the street, Judith?
No, you can't. You have to go down. There's a house that's set back in a long driveway on Clifton, just about at the bottom of the hill. And if you go in that driveway halfway, you can see it on the left-hand side. I've seen it before.
Okay.
I mean, I could look at it, I guess, but I wouldn't know what I was looking for in terms of material or anything.
Sure,
There is a sheen. Did you see
Yeah.
the pictures with the sheen? Judith?
Yeah, yeah.
You'd be able to see the sheen, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you'd be able to see the sheen on top of the water. Sometimes the sheen, however, is an organic sheen. So you'd really have to stick a stick into the water. And if the sheen breaks apart and does not come back together, it's organic, natural organic. If it comes back together immediately, it's a man-made product, usually.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
So if you put a stick in it and it dissipates, then it's natural organic.
Right, and it dissipates or does not come back together, you know.
Interesting.
And then the other stuff does come back together immediately. Zing, right back together. So if it's got little cracks in it on the surface of the water, that's a natural product. Easy test.
Are you suggesting? I think
that makes
Ingrid should do it. She really knows.
I don't see how that makes sense. If a compound is synthetic or purified from nature, it's still the same compound. So I don't understand how that could work.
No, oftentimes we'll see the sheen from the volatile organics comes back together. It's not a sheen. It's the same chemicals, but oftentimes they break apart. If it's out in the woods somewhere, I've seen it and I've demonstrated it many times. People see the monomolecular film on top of the water. You can break it apart. Seriously.
Yeah, no, that no doubt is due to probably an added compound or something in the synthetic product. If it's exactly the same composition, it would behave exactly the same.
Well, I'm not saying it's exactly the same composition at all.
So what you're saying, the man-made no doubt has maybe a preservative or some other component to it that makes it behave differently.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Okay. All right. I misunderstood you in the beginning.
Sorry, and I maybe didn't explain it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't explain it very well either. Okay.
Okay.
You.
Yep. I understand.
Yeah. Good.
Well, Steve, will you keep in touch with, either Clean Harbors or Eversource to find out what they're doing? Because it appeared to be an appropriate first response to an
Yes,
emergency cleanup.
it's actually Ty and Bond who's doing the work, who's
Yeah.
supervising the work. So those are probably the people that keep in touch with.
All right.
Same people that are working at Station 43 over off of Central Ave in Boston.
Yeah.
Okay? Shall do.
Okay, good. Perfect. And then David, maybe you can just send out an email so that we all know what's going on.
Sure. Be happy to update people.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Wendy, are you all set with the cemetery truck observation at Clean Harbors?
Yeah, how can we follow up on that? How about, is it Teresa,
Who's the?
what, tell me, the trustee of the cemetery?
Desmond,
Desmond, I'm sorry. Yeah, Teresa
Desmond.
Yeah,
She was, but I don't think she is now, John. Wasn't she replaced? I think
She
so.
was. She was Lisa Ahern.
do you know her, Wendy?
I don't. No, I just she's one of the florists from
Oh, yeah,
one of
from,
the nurseries nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to some of her workshops.
Cedar Grove. Yeah, Cedar Grove. Yeah,
Grove?
Lisa Ahern.
Can you ask her? Do you know her?
I don't know her, but I've been going over to the cemetery every day and walking there, and so I've become quite intimate with all the goings-ons at the cemetery. And
So you should be looking for Sheens.
well, now that I know, yes. So it'll just add to my enjoyment. But
You should ask, or somebody should ask.
there's an office there. I'll knock on the door tomorrow when I'm there and just ask. Yeah. But I thought maybe I had missed something because I mean they should have filed something if there was something important going on.
And you said they were near the pond, is that correct?
Yeah, they were.
Okay. I'll take a look over by it, okay?
Okay.
Doesn't Unquity Brook go right through the pond? I mean, isn't that a catch basin for the brook and then it continues?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree with you. I used to fish in that pond as a little kid. I never caught anything, but I tried.
Yeah. There's a lot of frogs. There were some geese mating there today. There's a lot of action going on.
All right. So y'all follow up with that, Wendy?
Yeah, I can do that. And Steve, you said that you want to, if you're going to be up in town anyway.
Yeah, I'll take a quick look. Yes.
Okay.
Why not?
All right.
All right, good. Is that it for additional business?
I think so.
That's it.
I think so.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn? All in
Motion
favor?
to adjourn.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks.
Good
Michael,
night.
Thank you so
thank you
much,
very
John.
Stay
Thanks,
well,
everyone.
everyone.